and then it goes wherever.
Then you bung it out.
Then I will send it to the Drive or the Google
And
Drive.
do you do your own editing as well?
I did all of it for. Like the idea with this was that I wanted to have a system where I'm able to do experiments as fast as possible without having any interference from anyone else.
Nice.
And then I had to learn how to do thumbnails with the program is Canva.
Yeah.
Then I had to learn how to edit. But there is like this editing software which is for cave people, which is Riverside, and it's an online recording system for podcasts. But and then it kind of provides you the transcript. You can actually take out sentences, like it just provides you, and based on the words we say, you can actually cut out whatever you want. And there is also an AI possibility there, which enables you to pretty much do everything what you want, and it's very simple
sort of
editing.
Plug and play, yeah.
It's very plug and play.
Nice, bro.
And that gives me the opportunity. And then I learned how to do the landing pages. So I could actually, like all of the stuff what I did for Estonian is like this. I can do minimum viable plan on my own. So I can actually put it out as fast as possible to validate the idea. And then if there is someone eventually needed, then I can actually give it to them. And at the moment I gave all of the thumbnails, videos, everything to our editor. And now he's doing it. He's already putting it up there, but I initially built everything. So I have an understanding of pretty much how to do it. So had to learn it a little bit so I could then give a automated version whatnot to someone.
Yeah. Do it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the idea.
Well, I admire it. I think it's a commitment of a lot of energy to get that right.
Yeah.
How do you feel it's going? Are you getting the kind of audience? Is it getting the response you need? Do I need to say something really controversial to help?
I mean, I don't know even where I'm going to put this one, because I have one which is English one, and then I have the Estonian one. I think I will put it in Estonian one and in English one.
I'll just say some really difficult things.
That's awesome. That's a great idea.
Okay, let's start like that then.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Right.
And and I don't have any introductions. I just speak. That's how I do it. And we just go into the things what we speak.
And how long do we go for until we stop saying anything?
I think until you end up
we get bored.
Not having enough time. And let's put a time on target, because you have to leave what time? Because do you have a bus ticket already? Or
I've bought a train ticket back. I'm going at like 3:30.
3:30.
But I'd like.
So we have to end up at like around 2.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because then you have 1.5 hours. 1 hour to be in the museum.
I wouldn't mind having my spiritual moment in the museum.
Exactly.
So then
we have 2.5 hours.
Perfect. If I can keep talking for 2.5 hours, I'll have bored the shit out of you.
I don't think so.
And vice versa, maybe. But yeah, cool.
So what's a cool topic you like? What you have been thinking lately?
My favourite topic is always about story.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how I know you.
Yeah.
Actually, is you're equally enthralled by story, right?
Yeah.
You still writing?
At the moment, I am. I'm in editing phase, I would say.
Okay.
I'm more learning. I'm writing, but I'm more in editorial space. I gave the rewriting of the book to an actual person who knows how to write. And when the next stage with the book is actually then go over it and see if I would ever say anything like she have written.
What? So you've surrendered your agency?
I have pretty much. I have pretty much put together all of the story that I have written. I don't know, a few hundred pages already. But it was in English.
In English? Oh.
That was in English. Now she's translating it all, trying to get all of the work that I've already done, seeing what is there, how much is there. And he's already making it in Estonian. We have already had a few conversations. So in essence, she's a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
And
is that a dirty word?
I don't know. It could be. It could be. But yeah, that's what I've done with that one, because I want to put most of my time at the moment into this, because this is much more interesting. And this is pretty much I've now taken seriously the angle of wanting to provide value to our defense forces, our government agencies, because I think if I take any of the manuals we have, there is one key part missing, which is our stuff. And as that part is something which you can't read, even if you're in a service from any of those places, then I can add this layer, and that's something that is kind of also a segment in Estonia which is not talked. So and I have this perfect opportunity because we are partners with Jaakko. I can get all of his podcast and all of his stuff, what he's already created, which is high value, and I love them, turn into an Estonian script with his comments, and eventually it's kind of like my thoughts together with Jaakko's thoughts in Estonian, going through these documents.
Am I allowed to swear?
Absolutely. You can
I
do whatever
haven't
you
got any need to yet.
Yeah.
But this question is a bit aggro, but I think you take that responsibility on yourself. So why you? I think I know the answer to that, by the way. But I mean, what do you get from that question?
I think that so the question, as far as I understand as a readback, is that why am I the person providing that information? Because I think I am one of the few at the moment in my life where I have enough time, I have enough knowledge, and I'm in a position where I was previously serving, and now I have the ability to connect something which I have learned from the civilian world, which is something which can be transferred into the back into the military or that service, and as and that's the reason why there is like this potential. But in reality, I want to learn, and at the same time, while I'm learning, I think there are so many valuable podcasts that I actually wanted other people to listen, but they don't have the time, or they don't have the whatever, and now I am able to create the version in Estonian, which I think could actually land there. So that's why I think it can be me.
But it presupposes something else to me, right? By the way, I think the things that you say about your experience, the sort of the bridge between two worlds that you inhabit, the access to this material, you're in a pretty freaking unique place for that, right?
Absolutely.
And yet there is an antagonist. So there's a reason why you choose to do it as well. There's obviously something wrong, in my view, with what you see going on that means you want to do this shit. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that what is missing is just, I think it would always come out if there was more time for an organization to figure it out themselves.
Okay.
And we as a country, we as a team of Estonians, we haven't gotten there because we haven't gotten to we are not like a ripe vegetable or whatever it is. Like we are not, what's the word, küps. So it's like we're not matured enough. We're like in teens or whatever that you call it, right? Yeah. And I think if you look at some organizations, like American organizations, they have had so much time to get mature on some of the things at least. And I think that I'm able to just provide some insights which maybe will save time.
Okay.
And because I have figured out that it would come. It's not something magical, I would say. It's just a conclusion. I think we would come if we would be in war for 5 years. It would come on a fast pace. But life is such a slow realm.
Yeah.
Peacetime is so slow in terms of that. And I think that at the moment there is a possibility where people are listening and wanting to understand how war works and how those lessons can be transformed. And those lessons are there. And the psychology of military competence, it kind of shows that the lessons have always been there. Right. They are still there. And yet in 100 years, nobody has learned anything because they won the wars. Right. And I like this example, like France after the First World War, or actually, after the First World War, France, they won. But they barely didn't lose.
Okay.
That would be another way how to look at it, right? Now, and what did they learn from winning? That all of the tactics, all the things, what they did, they worked. And who learned the most after the First World War? The losers. Who were the losers? The Germans. Now, what did they do? They took over half of Europe in the Second World War. Why? Because they understood that whatever they did didn't work, or the things that they did worked. So they just did some debriefs and listened in. And the Western side, there were people who were saying that there's this one dude, I can't remember his name, but he was in the British military who kind of said that, I think Liddell or someone who said after the First War that, hey, we need, there is some future in maneuver warfare, that you can actually utilize tanks instead of horses and airplanes instead of whatever. Like that you will have this air power which is able to provide some support, and that will actually enable you to shed less blood. There will be less kind of consequences. There will be less meat grinding, because the First World War was like trench warfare and just artillery, just grinding meat. So he kind of proposed that, hey, there is a possibility to actually do it faster, better, and so on. And he actually put his kind of thesis, he was kind of relieved from his service, obviously, because he was thinking differently. He was too innovative. And then there was this kind of, in Britain, an essay freaking competition where he's proposed his idea. And it's so ironic that the winner of that military award was a paper which name was Limitations of Tanks. And now, guess what? They got blitzkrieged. Yeah. With what? With tanks and maneuver warfare. So all of that information was there. There were people who were saying that can be the future, but the egos and the kind of the authoritarian, or what's
authoritarian,
the word? Authoritarian kind of mindset that exists in that kind of cultures or organizations is something which we need to learn from. And that's pretty much the book, which is pretty much written on that. Yeah. And it kind of shows in every organization, in every society, how it's very hard to learn. And I don't think that anyone will learn from what I'm saying. But Estonia is very small. And I think we are like pretty wise people. And we are standing 2 legs on the ground, at least based on history. That's how we are. And I think there is still there is a chance of making things better, because we are at the moment in a place where people are thinking in that specific problem. And I think that there is just, at least I don't know, are there any kind of specific voices who could provide an alternative angle on alternative topics which are equally important to think about? Because I think that in a vacuum in the military, you are living in a tunnel. Yeah. And those kind of ideas doesn't come in. But and I have this unique perspective.
It's really interesting. I don't know, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but Oliver Burkheim said, he wrote a book recently called 4,000 Weeks, where he says that we get 4,000 weeks to live. Right? That's it. On average. Of which, say, the last, depending on how many, may not be that useful, and the first could be a bit fun, but whatever. You've got a limited amount of time to make a legacy, to build something transformative. And I think about that because it takes me about 2 weeks to read a book, right? That means I've got 2,000 books that I might read in a lifetime. Now, that probably means right?
If you actually read them.
I'm pretty good. But dude, if I want to get the knowledge that I need to fast forward my capacity in my professional life, I probably should be reading that stuff in my 30s, 40s and 50s. So then I'm getting a much shorter bibliography. There's probably 600 books that I ought to fucking read in order to be successful at what I do. And so when I hear what you're saying, it makes me realise repeatedly in my life that actually, I know we use this phrase a lot, like standing on the shoulders of giants, but there are people who've done this work. Who's done the dirtiest, most existentially challenged leadership? Where's that happening? It's probably happening in your sector or in medical sector or maybe social care sectors actually. But go and fucking find out. Don't read the wrong literature. Now, that's what curriculum is, frankly. That's what schools are. I'm going to get you to create culture around it. But that's how I see your mission is speeding that up.
Yeah.
Does it manifest a transformation that you visibly see in your lifetime? I don't know. Does that matter to you actually?
I mean, it would be awesome because
Yeah.
then it would impact the place where I'm living.
Right.
And it would make it stronger. At least it provides a bigger chance
Yeah.
of survival, of bigger chance of winning, less chance of losing. So I think awareness obviously has it. It hopefully makes some people make more decisions. Now, the decisions they can make can be catastrophic decisions still. But they are making decisions, which is usually historically a better thing to do than not do any decisions. And Europe seems to be, at least that's what one of the dudes says very brilliantly a few weeks ago, that what's the difference between America and Europe is that in Europe, when you're doing company or when you're leading someone and you're not making decisions, you don't get fired.
Yeah.
In US, you don't make decisions, you get fired. That's the main thing. And it comes out from here as well. Like, there is, like, as I said earlier, like before the Pearl Harbor, there was this one general, can't remember his name, but he kind of relieved, out of 33 generals that were in service before the Second World War, only 11 of them actually went to war to lead. Yeah. He relieved 30 of them. Then he relieved hundreds of other and thousands of other leaders underneath. And the main reason why he did it, he pretty much said he relieved everyone who were finding excuses and who were complaining, because he believes that kind of behavior creates non-performers or people who don't want to grow. And eventually he had to root it out, and he had like kind of this specific wording, I think, which is that everyone who flaunters gets fired.
Right.
So it's not about that you make a mistake. If you flaunter, that was the specific word. It was not if you fail, but if you are hesitating in making decisions, if you're hesitating in going whatever direction, that will be the problem for that leader. And everyone who hesitated in making decisions, hey, the Japanese are coming. There is a lot of airplanes coming in the air. What should we do? I don't know. Let's have a discussion.
That's right.
That's kind of the point he's making. Like, making decisions is better than not making decisions, and everyone who's kind of hesitating of making decisions should go away. So what I'm trying to kind of give from this is just another perspective of what to think about, because I think that's something which is not thought about so much, because they are in tunnel and actually doing their job. And it you can't think of everything when you're not detached, and that's something maybe which will be useful, but again, it could lead to making wrong decisions, which could be disaster.
Yeah, but it reminds me of a story which I might have shared with you before, but is, I think, a sort of vignette, and I'm going to tell it really badly. But the story I heard was about a young... So this is one of these big hedge fund consultancy entities. There's a young graduate female. She's come through the ranks. She's building her profile, and she's being mentored by a senior leader, some wise old owl who gets her into the boardroom. And on one occasion, there's a serious fuck up with systems, right? And engineers are brought in from all the kind of top level engineers, and they're brought into the room, and no one knows what the problem is. But this young girl is told by her mentor, when she goes into that boardroom with the CEO, say, it's my problem. Under any circumstances, when I give you the nod, you say, this is my problem. So they all go in. She's like, I'm about to commit career suicide. I've only been here 3 years. What the fuck? Yeah. They all walk in. CEO comes in. He bangs his shit on the table. He's like, what the fuck is going on? None of you are sorting this out. All the engineers, well, it's his fault. He's done it. It's this guy over here. She gets the nod, and this young colleague says, it's my problem. CEO, what the fuck are you talking about? How can you fix it? All the engineers are like relieved. The stress is off. And he says, what do you mean it's your problem? And she's a smart cookie. So she says, well, actually, what I mean is I'll fix the problem. And the CEO's, well, you're the only one in this fucking room who's actually taking ownership. So what is it you're going to do? She's like, well, I will forensic the shit out of this data. I need a week, and I'll provide you a solution. immediately the kind of dynamic shifted. All the engineers in the room who think they've covered themselves are now subordinate to her. She's the only person, right? So, you know, it's a risk. She walks out of the room, she's got the mandate, she's now obliged to deliver it. If she does it, she walks out there the winner. And I feel like it's the same logic and the same principle that applies to, well, I know you're in this business more than me about ownership, but when I think about, when I asked you that question earlier, like, what's the problem? That to me represents this sort of key attribute that we have as a species that is so fucked and extraordinarily exciting in the equal measure right now because of AI, which is about how we share story, what we do to collect data, what we do to take ownership of data, how that's transformed, in the last 2 years, and then what we attribute meaning to that data and where it changes things. It changes lives if you tell it right. I mean, John Yorke's book, you should read it and I'll tell you about it later, but like, it makes me think that it's very meta because here we are talking about it like on a podcast. This is also story, isn't it? Yeah. But you standing up and putting your head above the proverbial parapet and saying, well, I'm going to fucking do this, I think is an act of courage which sort of enables other people. Do you think that's true?
It is. I don't feel that I'm courageous at all in that sense. I just feel I'm just going to do it regardless if it feels courageous, because
if it works or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because I don't know if it works or not. It's not about that, because like whatever I put out in the beginning, it sucks anyways.
Yeah.
It's a process of me getting better in that sense. So, but it has a chance of helping and pivoting and making people think about things, which then can lead to something which is great. And I think for me at the moment, it's not courageous anymore because I have been blabbering online for so long already. Right. So it doesn't feel courageous in that sense. So I have been building for that.
You mean the blathering on thing?
Yeah.
That was by design? What did you need to blather it on, so you don't feel uncomfortable with it somehow?
No, I don't feel it. I don't feel comfortable anymore because I understand that I think that I have overcome the initial insecurity of blabbering in front of people, and they can actually give me their opinion, which I may not agree. I don't really care anymore. Right. And that's awesome, because in the beginning when we started Combat Ready, for example, then Martin, who's the other co-founder, he did some videos, right? And before that, we never did any videos on social media. And then I had to make a freaking reel, 30 seconds or 1 minute. And it wasn't I don't know, whatever it was. And it was so freaking hard. I did 30 takes, and to me, all of them sucked.
Really?
It was my insecurity of presenting it and someone thinks that I'm stupid. What the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? Who are you to even speak about it? That was my initial thought. And I think I got over it. And initially, I gave up for that, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 months in terms of that. And Martin did all the videos. I did nothing. And at some point I started still doing it. And it just kind of, the confidence started to build. Eventually I was on a stage speaking with people, and I realized that it's also a little bit of the imposter syndrome, I guess.
Sure.
And all of that kind of stuff. But then eventually I just got confident, or more confident. And I believe that it's good not to be overconfident. And now sometimes I just told it.
Yeah.
I think, felt a bit cocky inside of me. That yes, I know that I need to say that I have to be humble.
Yeah.
But in reality, I feel I'm doing a great job. I'm getting after it. But now I have failed so many times, and I have put all of my things in there, and I got a momentum of because I started putting the clock pictures on internet and promising that I will actually wake up. So I put myself in a position where I went out from my comfort zone in reality, and people had me hold me accountable. And through that process, I actually got relieved from that insecurity, because I understood that I actually don't need it, but I needed it to get going, get moving. And now as I'm moving, it all feels so logical to me, and I really don't know if it will work, but who cares? Because the benefit is at the moment that at least I get the maximum out of it. I get better, and as I get better, I'm better to articulate it, and eventually I'm able to still guide a lot of people and teach a lot of people about the specifics of leadership and how to actually make decisions. And that eventually will still be really good for my brain, because I need to learn, and then I can actually contribute that. So I would say that's why I'm saying that I really don't think it's courageous anymore, because at the moment it's I feel like I'm in a comfort zone in that sense, that I don't feel like and I don't really care anymore, because initially I also thought, and in the military realms, a lot of times when you go out and start doing something, everyone is thinking that you're now trying, if you're selling anything to the army or you try to sell anything, they think, okay, now you want to get rich on behalf of us, and they are like bitter about you doing something which they are not doing at the moment. But even that, I mean, the time will tell, right? So that's something what I also tell, that if someone thinks that you're an asshole and you're not an asshole, just let the time show that you're not an asshole. Because if you're not an asshole, you're not an asshole. And if on the first meeting they may think that you're an asshole, but if you're actually not an asshole, you shouldn't be worrying about it, because the variance will equal it out, and it will show who you really are. And I think now in the 4 years I've done combat ready, I think most of the people understand that I'm not in for the money. I'm not in for getting rich from the military. And even if I'm providing anything for the military, I'm doing it for free, because I don't want there to be even a glimpse of idea that I'm doing it for my good or for my benefit, because I'm able to make money from other things. Okay. So I can actually provide things, and this will be a totally free kind of opportunity to go through. And the work I have to put in freaking reading these freaking documents, it's crazy amount of hours, but I already see so huge benefits of me being better trainer, better instructor, better mentor, better human being. So I think there's nothing really courageous about it from my point of view. It is just awesome. That's what it is.
And you're synthesizing all of that information, right? I mean, you're reading it, you've lived it, you work in the sector, you provide that pro bono work elsewhere. And that to me is the sort of, this is a thing that I think is where you and I have spent a lot of time talking, is this synthesis role. Edward Wilson says, the world henceforth will be run by synthesizers. I think the quote starts, we are drowning in information but starved of wisdom. There's all of this out there. So the synthesizer, and he writes this before probably understanding the full scope of commercial AI, right? The synthesizer that we once relied on might have been someone in a kind of expert role who had acquired that status through whatever status systems they are, because he's the professor or the head of department or the general or the lead surgeon. And now synthesis is open to all of us.
Absolutely.
In a way that is both outrageously exciting and with AI, frankly terrifying, I suspect. And so I am of the opinion that everybody now, in some degree, has to learn or should be equipped with basic understanding of how to do their own synthesis. And I know I use this word story too much, but actually for me that's what this is. It's I am going to synthesize data sets or other people's literature or my experiences and share meaning to create change. I think that's what you're doing. I think that's where I sit in my work, in a slightly different realm. But I think everybody has an obligation to be literate to it. But you have said to me via text quite recently that you're not so sure about AI.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're fucked. And that's I'm starting to like understand, like, and I don't know how fucked we are and which way we are fucked, but we are fucked.
Okay, but do you mean adults, everybody, teenagers?
I think adults, me not so specifically, but looking forward. I mean, you never know, but I think that there is definitely a huge transition going to happen, which is unpredictable.
Which is happening. You ain't going to put that back.
Yeah, no. And what I actually wrote down, which now is a new thing, what I just realized at the moment, as we just were saying that, like, based on this, like, humans have struggled with making decisions, right?
Yeah.
They're not proactive enough. They're not willing to make decisions. Now, you said that the AI is really good in synthesizing data and analyzing it. Now, if you give them the opportunity to be rogue, and if you give them the opportunity to start making decisions, they don't hesitate in making decisions. They will make decisions, and if they start making decisions based on the synthesis they do, the accelerated results, because they are also implementing it, or at least in their realm, not in a physical maybe world in that much at the moment, but if they are also making decisions, it means that they are going to be light years ahead. They would only be light years ahead in terms of synthesizing and analyzing it. But if you add their decision-making power, which is, again, one of the main things which is holding a lot of organizations and have killed a lot of organizations, and if you now add that possibility that they are also able to make decisions and they are decentralized, then the accelerated results is just unpredictable.
How dark do you want to go?
Let's go very dark.
Okay, because that's... I just finished reading Nova Scene by... Is it James Lovelace or James Lovelock? He was 103 when he died. He wrote this maybe 2 years ago about AI, and he says AI, hyperintelligence, is going to eventually replace humanity. But don't worry about it. It's fine. We've had our moment. Gaia does this. In 100 million years, our planet won't be habitable anyway. In maybe 10 million years, we'll have fucking wiped ourselves out.
Yep.
What will be left is this form of hyperintelligence. He calls them cyborgs, which sounds a bit 90s, but whatever. But I read it. I was really confronted by this, Remo, because I was like, what the fuck? That's a bad thing. And he went, no, it's inevitable. It's an inevitable thing. It
actually is.
The droid, the drone, I give it a little picture and I say, take out Remo. And this little drone flies off with AI hyperintelligence. And 3 months later, as it's trying to find you, I go, oh, I've changed my mind. Too late. Those things are done, actually. And it's only a matter of time. But maybe, and the claim that he makes, and I know how confronting that is that maybe we've just got an inflated sense of our value in the universe, and actually it's not fucking useful.
But actually, that's also a really good thing which you can mirror in terms of that is life.
Yeah.
One person, your time is limited. If one person's time is limited, it's clear that the species' time is also limited.
Right.
It all ends in death.
Yeah.
So it is inevitable. You can't do nothing. Eventually everything will die. It's just a matter, you hope that, okay, it doesn't happen during my time, I guess. But it doesn't even matter when it happens because you're going to die anyways.
Yeah, and so it's a really funny truth, isn't it, that when you go on podcasts or stuff and people say, tell us a little bit about yourself, that I've always wanted to start that off by saying, well, I died when I was 75. I lived in an old people's home for 5 years, and after 10 years of me dying, no one fucking remembered me. The truth of our lives is actually determined by what legacy we provide, what actions we take. No one's going to give a fuck whether you had a big business or you did this shit. That what is the true meaning and purpose of your existence goes way beyond that and becomes story. And so for me, whilst I really don't want AI to take out my friends and loved ones in its sort of arbitrary, it would be better for the planet if there were less human shit, which, by the way, in the book, he argues isn't the case. He says that actually AI super intelligence would acknowledge that humans have caused the Anthropocene, are heating up the planet, and therefore making it livable. And so it's a really fucking weird argument, which I loved actually to read because it was so confronting to me.
And I think that the brilliant AI could also utilize and understand that there is some value in human beings.
Yeah.
In working force.
Did you see that vid I sent you last night?
Yeah. I saw it. It's awesome.
Just power me.
Power me up.
And I don't think we... a week ago, my brother-in-law sent me from LA a school... alpha schools. You seen this?
I don't think so.
I don't know how you might throw me out of the house now.
No.
Alpha schools is an AI enhanced learning environment. They give the curriculum to kids and teach everything they need to know in a differentiated way within the first 2 hours of the day. All done. The AI enhanced curriculum understands your neurodiversity, tunes your level. So we're not doing this whole one size fits all teaching anymore.
Does it also put in their hardship somehow?
So what it does is it frees up the rest of the day for all these other skills. Hardship, resilience, freaking, I don't know, meditation, whatever the curriculum feels, social skills. But the argument is that AI supports this really accelerated cognitive growth. It started with one school, there are now 15 across the US. They argue the startup, it's a big funding opportunity, I expect for folks. There's a really good podcast about it, that it's gonna be the thing that takes over. So I would imagine that you'd be against that. Are you?
I mean, I think that if it would, I mean, you can stop it. That's one, right? So I think that if we understand what human need, and if we understand that human needs difficulty in their life to get that kind of resilience, because if you're creating a perfect solution to your brain, it should also think about providing you enough force or resistance which you have to overcome, because then you are only able to actually really become the best version of your life. But if it kind of takes away all of the hardship and it curates it you, so it will be very easy for you and you are able to perfectly learn, but it takes kind of away this hard part about life, then I think if you go off from there and go to the real world, you will be still really in a bad position. But if you can do that in 2 hours and then you get another curriculum with your parents, with your training coach, whoever, and the other places will be enabling you to actually feel the hardship and all the kind of other shit, then it could actually work very well. But then usually what's the tendency, which I believe it kind of goes to, is that I guess even if it provides you such a huge, like 18 other hours of your day, it will be hardship because you are getting such a great knowledge in the first 2 hours of your day that if you are lazy in there, then it kind of equals out. But I don't know if it is addictive enough that, yes, when you're starting to face now a new bad thing, you actually want to go back to that 2 hour thing. And now you're just addicted to that. And if you add some money incentives over there and business-minded people from US or wherever corporate worlds, which are really thinking about how to maximize your attention, how to get the maximum amount of, I don't know, information about you that they could utilize and sell you something to make money, then this will be still fucked. Because then it will usually try to convince you that it's very quick, fast, easy, effortless solution which will enhance your life, which if you get a fast, efficient, effortless solution to your life, in reality the return of that, you will get weak people who are not able to do it. But if you curated it enough that it actually has hardship into it, and they said that, hey, you are not getting out before you solve this issue, 7 + 7 = how much? Like it has some tough love in it.
You want it to send a little electric impulse.
Yeah, like this,
you got that wrong.
Old school teachers who come in and like beat you with a stick, right?
Yeah, but well,
because that would be a perfect.
You want the included whipping
Because you need the hardship as well, like not butterflies only.
I think that's the mark of intelligence is an individual's capacity to adapt to a changing environment.
Mm-hmm.
And adaptation can only happen when you have the capacity for adaptability, which requires you. Well, this is your territory so much more than mine. But that, if you can model that in education, see, for me, right, AI in my work, mm-hmm. I can now. I would say there's a really big distinction, by the way, between data retrieval and data reasoning, which you could argue if you really wanted a nerd fest, and perhaps we don't, but like we do, right? So retrieval of data sets. My conjecture is, and this is a really oversimplification, but it's more or less. Do you remember when we used to do word counting and word clouds? Do you ever use a word cloud to sort of look at a document?
Yeah.
And you'd say, "Oh, the word power." I've said it like as if that was really fucking helpful. Mm-hmm. But anyway, for me, the LLM's capacity, particularly with when it's either mimicking or actually being like RAG, like retrieval augmented generation, when it's locked in the things, the data sets that you give it, it can retrieve from that data the glorified word cloud in a way that is so much more effective than I am as a human being. So for me, that retrieval is a superpower that I've now got at my disposal, which I didn't have 2 years ago. Well, I did, but not to the same level. Now I can do it through audio, through this. I go onto YouTube and I just go, give me the transcript of a talk, stick it in. I don't know whether my cognition is doing the same work, but my capacity to synthesize and retrieve basically has been, I've got a fucking Superman cape now. Reasoning, tell me what to think about this document, I think is dog shit, frankly. But you could argue that retrieval is actually not entirely objective anyway. But my view is that with this superpower comes a supremely scary loss of agency that people have about what you were talking about earlier. How do I make an informed decision about this for myself? Am I going to use a GPT to answer, to think this problem out for me? Or should I be using AI to actually correct my perspective, provide insight of the data so that I can make a decision? Now, it's getting complicated, but because the sophisticated nature of this stuff is getting better all the time, but I don't want to see a world where my young people have surrendered all of their autonomy and much of their agency, either directly or indirectly, to screen time, actually. And I know you don't want that either. But I also know that you and I are probably subjugated to it already as adults. And how many fucking times a day are you using it to make decisions? Because I'm using it, despite everything I say, I'm probably running quick little iterations with it 50 times a day now. Same?
I think I'm using it. I think that there is a statistics over there, obviously. But I'm really not making any decisions based on that. I'm actually telling it. I'm using it as I'm using my team usually, like or other people. Like I have an idea, and I am actually asking for perspectives.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, what would you consider if you were in this situation? What would you think if I did this? What do you think would be like? I'm doing it pretty much I'm using it as a planning partner. Okay. So that's my main thing, what I'm doing it with. And then second thing, what I'm doing it with it is pretty much helping it translate my documentation and pretty much editing documents into a readable form, so I could actually start digging into it myself. So I haven't really, at least not self-aware. Maybe it tricked me of thinking like that, which would be a perfect way how to F me up. In thinking that I am actually making decisions and I'm just using it as I would use another person in terms of going back and forth with ideas.
I mean, I would check it on yourself. I know there is this thing built into most of the models, which is a reinforced learning loop, LFRH or something, which basically every time you go in, he goes, "Oh, Toby, what a fucking great idea. You're amazing. Have you thought about..." And I go, "I am pretty amazing," you know. And every time you go on, it's like, "But what? That's a really genius thing that you've done." And I'm sort of like, "Do you really think that?" You know, it's designed to sort of ingratiate itself to you, right? It's designed to keep you thinking. That's Anthropic's sort of quote, slogan, isn't it? Keep thinking, or something like keep coming back, keep into this loop of your work.
And the new guys, I like just listened yesterday. It was there was a I can't remember his name again. Jonathan something. He's a psychologist, I think, and he's writing on the how it fucks up the kids and stuff.
Jonathan Haidt.
Maybe, yeah. And I think what he said. What the fuck did he say? What was the last thing you just said?
I was talking about how we get into this sort of addiction space ultimately with GPT, that it's designed to make you come back.
Oh yeah. And he said that at the moment, as long as like there's no advertisement inside of that, at the moment there's not. Right. But now at some point the companies are growing. In the beginning of many other corporations, like you get this a lot of investments, and eventually you kind of run out of this possibility to grow unless you start utilizing the data to also meet the money standards by adding advertisements into the system. And as you add some advertisements, like, hey, if you ask from ChatGPT, it also said that, hey, yes, comma thread is a good option for you. Yeah. Because the comma thread is paying us some money, or at least it's kind of there. And then it kind of becomes totally like fucked.
It's obsolete immediately. Yeah. In a way that, by the way, anybody that reads Jonathan Haidt,
I think it's Jonathan Haidt.
It's called The Anxious Generation, I think.
He's one.
I would also beg you to listen to If Books Could Kill.
This one?
Yeah, that's definitely him. The Righteous Mind, I thought, was brilliant, actually.
No, he's not the last one.
That's the latest one, Anxious Generation. And listen to If Books Could Kill, the Jonathan Haidt podcast about the book. It's really thoughtfully constructed. Throughout human history, in my view, we've had huge advancements in technology, and there's always been moral panic around them. That it's the telephone or the wireless radio in the house or the television or a Bible that was actually written in a language you could read. We've done this thing where this next technology is going to be so disruptive and affect our kids. Yeah, I don't doubt for a minute, and this podcast really names it, that those things have had a detrimental effect to a number of people. But I remember being really fucked off during COVID, listening to schools and educators talking about the great lack of learning that young people were not having access to learning. You know, it was a disaster for this generation, right? They lost out on a lot of social time, unequivocally. They lost out on connection and community, absolutely. But also, fuck you for saying that, because if you ask kids what they were doing, they were absolutely learning. They were communicating, engaging. We had to reshape, like teenagers always do, the parameters by which their world looked. My son, he'll hate me for saying this, but he started a T-shirt printing business in COVID and started flogging them to his mates. He learned how to do this. He learned how to buy the T-shirts, sell them, put them on Depop, all this stuff. He made a killing. Like, tell me that he wasn't learning anything. He was sat around at home, bored out of his mind. Within 6 months, he'd made, 500 quid or whatever it was.
And I guess the main one of the points that they are making is that it is very useful for some people,
right?
But not for most.
What do you mean?
In terms of like all of this technology, and the AI, like it's very useful for us.
Yeah.
Like if you are disciplined, if you already have the resilience built into you, and you have the understanding that they actually there is another way. Like we understand that you can actually navigate in the forest. We learned with the compass. We didn't get the GPS straight away, and now he's arguing like obviously it will hands, I don't know, whatever the percentage is, like let's say 20% of the kids.
Yeah.
But what about the other 80?
Look, I think we get these, and again I go to the podcast, but and Andy Shabilsky, who I listened to talk years ago, is a professor at Oxford, and he makes a really prescient point about screen time. Because there was this sort of, again, moral panic. Screens are bad for kids. Blue light's going to something. And then he just asked a very legitimate question, what do you mean by screen time? All of it? Do you mean watching a biology video for your exam, or speaking to your grandma, or do you mean playing a game? And by the way, when you mean game, do you mean like a collective game where you have to problem solve together online? Like what
types of games?
What types of things? What types of access are we upset and worried about? Because to determine that, like, do you remember when we were violent video games cause people to shoot each other or something? I think there was, swearing on rap songs make me want to be a gangster. And I sort of think, like, have we lost our capacity for sort of reasoned thought there? I know that for every anecdote you provide me as evidence, the horrible anecdotes that I hear about so-and-so's child who learnt how to do this horrible thing to themselves or someone else because of the internet or social media, it's grim, and the moral panic just elevates, right? But I also know there's a child living in some redneck part of wherever who's got a different view of the world and can't think that they can go on with their life, and they're able to access communities and people who think in a different way to them, in a way that was never available or disposable to them before. And so there is a sort of, maybe it's always been like that, bro. Maybe it's always been like that. It just feels more intense right now.
It feels like one of the things that they have are saying is that you kind of the access to such a curated device, which is such addictive, and there are some obvious things which can be useful, but if the products that are built into it are incentivized only by making money, then the weight of what's going to happen is going to go on a direction where you're able to make more money in some cases when you are you're not thinking about the consequences in short term.
You are inside that matrix of decision making. That's what we were saying about synthesis. Who owns the right to synthesize the data? And I went, because I'm strange, right? I went fucking weird with this because about 6 years ago, I was like, where is the other thing that I hate about this whole thing is the disposability. So when you're scrolling, right, everybody says, I learn from scrolling. I'm like, what do you learn? You might listen to a nice song or a book, but you can't remember what you scrolled yesterday. I mean, just shit. Oh, that's funny. Oh, look at her. All this chaos that you do. So I was like, where is the lasting, the kind of purest version of that storytelling, the synthesis of data, where every single decision is fully like decided, and there's a guy called Yuri Norstein who he is 80 something. He's an animator. He has made about 5 minutes of an entire life of hand-drawn animated stories. They take his latest film's taken him 40 years to make. He's only ever released about 10 minutes of actual output, and he's probably the most revered artist in his genre because his dedication to he's not going to use any technology, he's not going to do anything, he's using this format, and
he's living in the forest without anything, right?
Pretty much. He can't even see apparently anymore, and he may not finish the film in his lifetime, right? But if you go and watch Yuri Norstein's work, tell me it doesn't resonate at another level. And there's something about the polarity. I mean, I freaking started a stop motion little group as a consequence of this. I was like, if I'm going to work in the synthesis of data in this way, what is the antidote to that I need to have as well? So I was like, I'm going to do stop motion. I'm going to make puppets. I'm going to bring a group of artists together and we're going to make 2-minute films, 3-minute films. That the one we're working on now is taking nearly 2.5 years. And it's 2.5 minutes long. And you think about the amount of stuff that we put out. Mm-hmm. This is 2 hours of us going on.
Yeah.
You know, what is the opposite to that? And what does it do for one's cognitive process to think in that way, where my 4,000 weeks legacy, my death remembrance is something as precise and metered as a 3-minute offering in your entire life? I love that shit. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but does it resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the dedication and absurd amount of time and precision that it takes to put together
this tiny little iteration.
Versus how much time does it take to put together a 60-second video at the moment with AI?
No, bro.
Doesn't take anything.
Have you watched any of the Winter Olympics?
No.
I mean, these fucking sports. Mm-hmm. The tiniest little margin. I'm sat on a tea tray going down a hill. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and I've lost out of 0.5 seconds and I've spent 4 years sat on this tray. And I think that's teleos, that's purpose, that's...
Yeah. And even if you look at the like VRC rally racing, they are like driving, 100 miles every time. And in the end, the level that most of the drivers are driving in 100 miles, sometimes it's, the first, and there's 20 stages. Mm-mm. And the first place winner wins by 3 seconds.
Yeah, I mean...
Over 100 miles. What the hell? It means that they are all pretty much driving on the same level.
Yeah.
It's just a 3-second difference. That separates you from being the best in the world.
And I absolutely love that we are so stupid to give our love and attention to that. I mean, have you ever watched the cricket match, dude?
I know that Estonia were playing Americans.
In cricket?
Yeah.
I'd have watched that.
No, sorry. It was the other thing, where they're on ice.
Oh, yeah, ice hockey business, right?
No, it's curling.
Oh, curling.
That's what I thought. Okay, cricket is on the horse, right?
No, cricket is the one where there's 2 batsmen. You'd have to look it up. It's probably so bizarre. Cricket. But a cricket game can last 5 days and have no winner.
Oh, okay.
We have test matches against all the countries we colonise, basically. India, Australia, and you'll watch these guys playing cricket for 5 days.
I think that I heard it. Russell Crowe talked about it,
right,
in Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah,
it's Australian thing.
They're not as good as us, bro.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But it's a thing where you are actually looking for 5 days, and then you look, the game is still on.
Game's still on. You get a ticket, it's 5 days long.
But versus looking at American football, that's why one of the reasons why it's so popular is that it's a fast-paced thing.
It's over in 80 minutes or something.
And it's short, and then also you're able to have commercial breaks in between them. Because soccer is not so popular in US. Why? Because it's 45 minutes of playing, there's no pauses. Yeah. You just have to 45 minutes look at it. And then you can only put commercials in the break, in the mid-time, in the end, or in the after, or maybe some, little of those things. So it's not making as much money, even though it makes money a lot. But if you look at compare it with American football, then there's a lot of breaks, a lot of commercials every day, all the time. Same with basketball, but soccer, it's a long form game.
You just got to get tucked in for 45 minutes and yell at each other.
Plus 45 minutes.
Yeah, nowadays, right? Yeah, it's getting brutal.
So,
but dude, I think something about our it's probably an adult development stage that I'm in. I don't know, but tell me as a leader, as a friend, as a colleague, whoever you are, what are you making? What are you contributing? What's the thing that you put back? A lot of the thing that I think you should do should inconvenience you. It should be a hardship, right? Mm-hmm. That to me represents growth and possibility. And for me, with AI, does that support me doing that kind of thing? I'm going to say, yeah. Do I need to learn how to use it so that it doesn't overtake my life? Have I still got agency in it? I'm thinking so. Will it be like that forever? I haven't got a fucking clue. But that to me is the antidote to a lot of what I feel is. I'm not talking about serious mental health suffering. I'm talking about people who struggle to find meaning in their work. What are you going to contribute as a consequence of it then? How do you step into it? And I feel like that's why I've got to know you ultimately, because I view your systems, if I'm here to support story, and I can tell you also that for me story sounds like a hippie, oh, don't tell a story because it might not be true. No, you haven't understood what story is. It's actually deeply woven into your DNA. It's everything about how you're making a decision, right? But story takes me so far. So I give meaning. You want change? You want to take that meaning and apply it to change the way you are? I think that's what you guys do, actually. I think you offer the template. You have the competency. You've got the experience. It's a shortcut to the actions, right?
I think I believe that it will be a byproduct. All of the things which you're saying are byproduct if you are really trying to figure out what is your purpose.
Yeah.
And then everything else kind of either resonated it, and if it doesn't matter, you kind of still, even if you're in a vacuum living in a forest and you are living an awesome life, you're good if nobody sees it.
Yeah. Well, I think the vacuum thing about, it's evident in certain places where I feel people have gone. This is a whole mad tangent, but I'm going to start it. If we've got time, I'll give you a little bit.
We have time.
So one of the rabbit holes I fell down was about, is there some mileage in committing to monastic asceticism like Buddhist practice? Why do people do that? What is it they get from that? So I went around as far as I could down that rabbit hole. I flew out to crazy places, and I was like, if they are enlightened, why aren't they telling everybody? Well, of course, it's complete anathema. If you've lost ego, right, you don't go on about it. You're just there. You're living in the forest, living this pure life, this kind of sort of Ubermensch existence where you have arrived there. And to me, that represented this, again, another counterweight or antidote to the way in which we live our lives. I thought there's got to be a secular value, because I can't really do the full Buddhist thing. But what skills have you got that could be applied to the way we think, that would actually transform, that give purpose and meaning in a way that you live properly? And I went Stephen Batchelor, who I think is fucking great, by the way, he writes about this a lot. He was a Buddhist monk, and then one night he was just like, what am I doing? Like, I've been, I've given 50
years are gone.
Yeah. And he literally climbs out of the monastery at night, and he writes a book called Confessions of a Buddhist Atheist. It's really fascinating. And he's like, look, this is a bit nuts.
What's the name of that?
Confessions of a Buddhist Atheist. Stephen Batchelor. And he's now, he really is, in my view, one of a really influential Buddhist thinker, even though for many people he's not surrendering to the Dharma, whatever. But his argument is they are infinitely valuable. A group of skills and competencies that are available in this tradition that everybody should use, that you could use whether you were a Christian, whatever. But you could have, and I feel like that lines up very much with I don't think you're that far away, funnily enough. This is military competencies that could be applied wherever.
Absolutely.
And that, I think, is the world of synthesis. Again, it's like, this is the world I wish to inhabit, where I'm not limited by some conditioned behaviour to say, I can't think about that because I'm working over here in the corporate sector. What the fuck are you talking about? Can you synthesise that? Does it provide value? If it does, knock yourself out.
Yeah. It's like, I kind of only think what it seems that it has happened. Obviously, it has also kind of solved itself out, is that in time, because otherwise we wouldn't have those discussions. If the last technology would have fucked up, we would all be fucked up, right?
What do you mean?
Like it doesn't, if AI like destroys everything, then we will be destroyed.
Yeah, but
has there been things which have already kind of destroyed the world? There have been, most likely things like that. Asteroids, for example.
Yeah, right.
And I think that coming back to the AI school learning, is that if it creates a Truman Show, you know the movie?
Yeah.
Then it's like you're living in a bliss which is curated for you, but even in a Truman Show, the person wanted to get out from that shit because it wasn't real. It was still fake, right? So you can create a super fake environment, but if you curate it in a way where you don't understand it, then, I mean, it can be bliss for life in that realm. Now, would you like it to be your decision? Or would you like someone else making a decision for you to be in a Truman Show?
No mud, no lotus, right? I mean, that's no mud, no lotus is the phrasing. If without the shit, you can't grow the beautiful flower. Like if you would you want to be sort of dosed up to the eyeballs on your antipsychotic medication and not,
because everyone could be living 50 years in the Buddhist whatever by force, and if in 1 year everyone will apply and everyone will be blissfully happy or whatever,
taking the soma,
and then but it wasn't kind of their free will. It was like it was still like they were forced into it. Yeah,
and so that is the kind of core. This becomes quite existential at that level. It's about, you know, sort of acknowledging, to be in love or to be in relationship means knowing that it ends. To be in a marriage means fucking falling in love with the things of your partner that you don't like as much as the things that you do. Are you going to be willingly inconvenienced? Is that the choice you make? The choice that we make in our professional lives is to walk towards the conflict. You, a very literal, life-threatening way. I've chosen over the years to walk into places that I felt need mediating or restoration. Certainly not in any kind of violence, although a kind of psychological violence. I started out as a secondary teacher, so 20-something years ago in the inner city in London, and I felt I was complicit in a system that was...
What was that like?
It was fucking horrible. It was violent, frankly. I was working in a school where the teachers would hide because of what was going on. I actually ended up doing pupil referral because the kids were then being excluded into these special units where there were 3 times as many teachers as there were children to stop them from hurting each other. Then if they got that difficult, they put them in what called C's Complementary Education Centre. They put them out of London and they put them in these cells, basically, because they couldn't manage them. But when you're doing that work, you become complicit in a system that you don't agree with. And at one point, you do something that goes against you. Now, some people just do that. It's a job. But for anybody with a kind of thinking capacity, either you have to believe that it's the right choice to do it, or you have to leave. Or you do the disruption, which is what you do, right? Where you go, this isn't right. This isn't right. I'm not doing this. That's where I started realizing that in order to live, I can't be complicit, and I'm just a normal bloke. I mean, I that's what led me into leadership. I started working in educational organisations, and I was there to assemble the teams, literally build the building. Sometimes bring in leaders. It was evident to me immediately that the kids were never the problem. It was always the adults. Kids are fine.
Absolutely.
It's their parents, it's the teachers, it's the governance. And so 95% of my work ended up being with adults.
How did you end up making the decision to go? Like, did you have it was like a clear choice for you that, hey, this is not, did you fight?
I fought for a long time. And I had this quite extraordinary career where I would travel around the world and set up alternatives to education. So if you were some rich businessman and you wanted to open a school somewhere, be careful because there's some of those schools still operate. You would bring in people like me, teams like us, and we would, from the ground up, write it, build it, instruct it. At some point, you reach a stage where you've had enough.
But you built it based on what system? Like the one that was existing before? Or?
So there are a number of different programs out there. One of the ones that felt, these things cost a shitload of money.
I can imagine.
Right. So if you want to encourage you, the wealthy parent, to give me £35,000 a year and your most precious commodity, your child, then I have to do all this creative alternative thinking and get you a qualification to go to university.
Are those also the kind of the byproducts of Waldorfs and all the other type of schools?
You get that stuff. Waldorf, Steiner, Montessori, alternative, international democratic education, whatever. But I found, and you can see that, and in the end, basically what happens is people come out of the orthodoxy of conventional education and then they apply some other orthodoxy that they've just made up, which I really fucking hate. Like, you don't have the authority to do that to other people's children, in my mind. So the only program that I really liked is quite a banal one called the IB, the International Baccalaureate. It was set up by in Geneva in the late 60s by parents whose kids were there because they worked for the UN. So they were kind of liberal-minded progressives, and they set up 3 curriculum programs. But they were flexible and rigid enough that if you wanted to open a crazy school, you could do it. And you could still get a diploma, 45 points to get into Yale or Harvard or Oxford or whatever. So that system was the one that I adopted, and we opened schools in about 6 countries doing that.
But it eventually still didn't provide you enough purpose, or it still was like fight uphill or whatever?
I fought it a long time, and actually, you know what the difference is being operational or being a consultant. So when you're operational, you're firefighting and you're doing everything that you and I try to help other people not do.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for years. And then I operated in consultation, and I still couldn't tell you to this day, and maybe that's just everything we're talking about in a nutshell. If you say, Toby, what is the best school that you know? I know some really good models, contextually good models, but I don't. There isn't one yet. There are models that exist that you could take a bit of that, a bit of that. So there might be a time when I would go back and do it again. But my view is that those systems are. We normally send our kids to schools, and we witness our children suffer that because that's what happened to us. And we think, well, because we struggled and because that was shit and because you had that horrible teacher and we thought that was all right, that our kids will be okay too.
I think that you need this other type of mindset, what we had in the special operations, where you went to course and it was it sucked.
Yeah.
It was hard. Then when they ask you for a feedback, you know what we said? It was too easy. That the next group who's coming in is getting even more pain. So, so if you're like, oh yeah, our school sucked for us. You know what we should do to our kids? Even worse.
Right.
And then they will be tougher, stronger, better.
You're so mean. That's
what makes a education system or course system like bad? What
makes
would
it
you
bad?
say? What are some of the red flags in there?
I view any kind of entitlement as being a real problem. I think you have to be...
An entitlement is
where I feel like the world should adapt to me. Fuck that, actually. You have to learn how to adapt to the world. What do you want to come out of this with? There is a metaphorical table that exists where the decisions are made in this universe. You can get to that table by a number of ways. One common way in this world is that you're invited because of who your dad or mum is. Right? I don't want people going to that table. That meritocracy thing is kind of, well, another conversation. But what I'm saying is you got to get there. And you're going to fucking get there, evidence how you got there. And that's what I want for everybody. In whatever field they want to work in, get to the table, right? Sit there because you've got a seat there. You can fight your way in or whatever you want to do. At the core of all processes is a belief that our children would find their purpose, self-actualize. And yet we construct these systems where kids are going in and doing rote learning, 30 kids in a classroom, conventional practices. And that to me hasn't, you can hear this in every podcast you listen to about education. In 200 years, hasn't changed. What are you doing it like that for? You're doing it like that because it makes sense for the adults. It doesn't make any fucking sense for the kids. And for I look at controversial statement maybe, but I look at the feminization sometimes of learning. You know, it is true that young boys sometimes can't sit still in those classrooms. Not just young boys, young girls too, but on the whole, young girls tend to do much better at primary than young boys. So fucking change it then. Don't just do it because the girls can manage it and all of those things. There's a lovely cartoon of a group of zoo animals, and the instructor goes, right, today's test is to see how effective you can climb this tree. And there's a fish and an elephant and a monkey. And one of those is going to climb the tree. And the fish is just sat there going, what the fuck am I going to do? Right? But we do the same with kids. That's exactly the same practice. You have these skills, these attributes, and you're going to climb a tree and you're a fish. Well, you're not going to do very well then, are you? You know, like, so,
that's true.
So like, there is in this sweet spot between what we talked about, community and engagement, there's also differentiation and a diverse capacity. I'm going to say you guys, you're going to be confronted by learning and literature that you don't necessarily like, to expose your brain to it, and you're going to grow. But getting the buy-in for all of that, Remo, I did it for years, and now I work with mostly corporate and mostly adults, if not exclusively adults, and they have the same problems. But my view is that the transfer is not only from school life do we have to kind of just be complicit, but I see it in workplaces too. We're being complicit in systems that don't serve us and don't get us profitability and don't do the work we're doing, and we're still doing that because we've been somehow conditioned from this earlier stuff. So all of it is a fight. It's worth taking on.
So would you say that I like that. I think it's interesting. It's made for adults, not for kids.
Yeah.
I think here in Estonia, like the kindergartens are really kids orientated.
Yeah.
Because they, at least in the place where I put my kid, which is like a public one, it was like you had three teachers. One was an older one who was providing them food and stuff. She was like responsible for administrative, and then was just two younger, 25-year-old ladies, and they had a maximum of 20 kids.
Yeah.
So the ratio was pretty much 1 to 5, 6-ish. Obviously they had scheduled and whatever, so they couldn't be there. But every year, we actually got a profile kind of and discussion about your child. What is your child's development? Oh, your child is not doing so good in the physical part. She's really good in mathematics, blah, blah, blah. Like whatever so there was like this very personal touch. And as they go to school, it completely goes different. It kind of goes into now you're like a pack of herd. We will treat all of you in the same manner. Unless you put them in school where there is a different type of module or idea. And I guess that's something which I also thought that, okay, until the kindergarten, I think that is obviously one of the most important parts of child anyways, which is, again, it's a good start. That I think is pretty good in Estonia. And I think the overall education system here in Estonia is pretty legit in terms of that.
You've got a decent one. Let's be fair, you always, on the Pisa scales, under Schleicher's stuff.
And it's also like, because we have just a small country, right? It's easier to make those changes. Yeah, I would assume that is one of the huge factor in everything here.
No, bro, and I don't doubt that. I think you probably still suffer from the same. So there are a couple of lies that hold true for all education. One is, if you do well in school, you'll do well in life. That's what we've been led to believe. You get really good grades, you go to a really good university, you're going to do really well. Everybody knows that ain't true. Yeah. How about this one? If you behave well in school, you'll do well in school. Or you'll do well in life. Yeah. Like, so we somehow have these like, and the disruption isn't...
They kind of make sense, but they're not true.
They're not true. Yeah. And they hold shit together. Yeah. It's a little bit like, if you don't go to sleep, there's a monster outside. It sits there. If I say to you, right, open a school, you can have infinite budget and you can set it up any way you like. And I've been in that team.
Boot camp.
Your fucking school. Age 6, cleaners. You would. What you're going to end up doing, basically, is organising a day around a set of sequenced learning experiences, and kids will move from one of those to the next. So guess what? It'll look a little bit like a school. Even though you think you're really innovative, you're going to fucking come up with the same stuff. I had some amazing opportunities in my life to work. I mean, I'll tell you two. One guy, I shouldn't tell you where they are, but he wanted to train school kids as ninjas. He was like, I'm going to open a school, you're going to open it for me, we're going to get IB accreditation, and the kids that come through here...
I'm going to open up the window. You can speak.
Are going to be ninjas, dude. We're going to train them in like extreme physical like practices, Taoist thinking, and he didn't open a school, but I thought that was quite a fun idea. Another guy, this is honestly true, he said, aliens exist. I got loads of money. When aliens come to planet Earth, I want my school to be the first place that they come. I was like, right. He goes, I also want that to be the philosophy of the school, that our kids are so open-minded, so curious to the galaxy. Forget all this nationalist shit. Let's be that school. And by the way, I want you to ring the IB, this really prestigious accreditation organisation, and I want you to get us accredited for it. So I had to ring the IB and say, would you accredit an intergalactic secondary school? And they were quite up for it, by the way.
Of course.
Because they were like, this is good shit. If you're gonna review it, if you're gonna think differently, you have to be willing to get into bed with some of the nutters.
Absolutely.
Right? And by doing so, your stories, your life is enriched, frankly.
What I liked about one of the quotes what Jaco was talking about, like I think the definition of insanity is something that you are not seeing reality. You're seeing something else, right? And then he said, like, which means that every person, based on that definition, is insane. Because every one of us sees things totally differently. And I think that's something which you need to consider all the time. But some people, it's just a matter of how different we see it.
Right.
But most of the, like, if you have the same background, you're kind of seeing it somewhat differently, but still we are both insane.
Yeah.
Based on that definition.
Right. This is true, bro.
Yeah. So we're all insane.
But I think as well, go and seek willingly the counter position. It's always the case that if you listen to someone who you disagree with, right, there's a lovely kind of thought experiment where you, instead of going, you're wrong or I don't agree or you don't listen, you just get them to explain their position. And after about 2 or 3 whys, they tend to collapse because they haven't really thought it through.
Absolutely.
And I think as well, everybody's entitled to their opinion thing is also a bullshit. Some opinions are rubbish. You're not entitled to that opinion. It's shit. Get a better opinion. And I don't want to... I want to expose myself to the differences of thought that exist. I took it very literally. So where did I think were people who were viewing, if their version of reality was so different to mine that maybe it would reveal something about my own. So there are communities in the world experimenting with all kinds of different approaches to thought and reality. And one guy who I really rate, Philip Cargom, who I've worked with actually a lot and I adore, and he's a good friend actually. He looks at, he did a presentation years ago which I went to where he said the Occam's razor, you know this theory?
I've heard it, but I can't remember.
Basically, every action is a consequence of the most simple reason. If the door shuts now, it's because you opened the window and it blew and the door shut. That's why it shut. That's Occam's razor in practice. He said he wanted to live his life for a year with the complete opposite of Occam's razor. So everything would be the maddest possible reason. What would happen? It sounds like you're kind of nurturing psychosis, right? He went out into, it's not quite what he said, but he went out into the world and he was like, I don't know whether it was him or his friends, but can we view cause and consequence, cause and action in a different way? What happens to your life if you apply different meanings? And he leads... it's extraordinary, frankly, what you can sort of take meaning from. But what I worry about, which is coming back to this, is in this agentic AI, social media driven world, my meanings are not derived from anything else other than what is supplied to me by whoever you want to name, whoever owns whichever Instagram or TikTok.
Well, it will be you're curated more into being an animal because you are made into making decisions more based on your emotions rather than conscious thinking.
Yeah, that's Jonathan Haidt's what's he called it? The elephant and the driver. You know, it is that, and we will simply, and it's what's catching us now, right? Fear, violence, whatever the things that, you know, this sort of limbic system, you know, the stuff, it's there and it's being manipulated.
And in that case, was the system where you were working in the school really that bad?
Well,
maybe it wasn't. Maybe, like, I mean, it sounds horrible.
No,
but I mean,
I went to a school, a very, very traditional private school when I was young, where, you know, kids started when they were 6 years old. It was boarding. You were in uniform. You were drilled in Latin and Greek.
Military.
It was a very much principality. There were cadets and so on and so on. I left that school like really sort of antagonised by a lot of it, but I have had a classical education. I'm literate to loads of things that have given meaning to my life. So I think you'll see in the future, you will probably get, as it sort of groups around certain educational practices, you will probably get schools that revert to that. Rote learned, quite disciplinarian, outdoorsy. And I suspect...
Combat Ready University or school.
Hey, let's do it. But, you know, they'll probably be the ones that the elites send their kids to, actually.
Most likely, yeah.
Because you'll know you've got... What do we talk about? Resilience, etc., etc. I mean, do you ever think about running a school? You must have thought about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's something which is a possibility at some point, because we are tapping into youth. And I mean, there are systems which at the moment are working, and it has been showing really good stuff, because we have the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts for Defense League. And I mean, what they're doing, they are doing outside things, and it actually is pretty good for them. They're competing, they're going in forest, they're doing those things which are not in relation with the screens, and there's a lot of them. So it's definitely a beneficial part of that. My daughter goes to Waldorf because we were also thinking
such a hippie.
Yeah, absolutely, military hippie. But that was kind of like the idea, and I'm really happy with it because because like. It provides me a lot of, like, they don't, like, I think she is first grade, and I mean the amount of school or home learning, it's almost nothing, which then provides me an opportunity to do stuff with them as a family. And it's actually really good. They are always out. Every like break in between the classes, they have to go out. There's no, they can't use phones, which is like already good. I was initially like obviously worried a little bit about this. They have this religion class and stuff like that, but again, it's more of a storytelling, and again, it is my part to actually ask questions. And I mean, fate hasn't been bad for humans, so maybe she learns that it's good for her. Well, go with it. But I think that like this grinding, because it is more personal approach, and I think that's something which, I mean, initially I was like, hey, let's send her to the same kind of place where I was, because I handled it, and I'm sure she could handle it as well. But it felt like it's more kind of logical, because I'm more capable and I have time, and I'm able to invest my time into her, so I can actually provide her some stuff what I'm learning and teaching. So she can get this, I don't know, discipline and all the kind of other stuff. Because what I saw from the people who get through that, they may not have the capacity of understanding or learning so much in terms of what the regular school gives, but what the outcome of those schools seems to be is that they are very, like, they're not insecure. They're like really understanding who they are, and that's, I think, much more valuable what you get from the school than I don't know, knowing how to do 1 + 1 = whatever, right?
Yeah, and there is so much to be said about and this applies to all of our work, that the relationships are what pull us through. It's the difference between, I remember taking my daughter when we moved countries. We went to a school and we saw two options, and one young head teacher stood up in front of all the kids and said, very much appealing to the adults, you know, we try our best, we don't do it always very well. If you've got any problems, our door is always open. You know, the kids are doing their best in this environment. I was like, oh. We went to the next school, and the head teacher, she stands up and she says, welcome children to the best school in Somerset, you know, and like, my daughter was like, I want to go to that one, please. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be told, you know, I want to feel this relational driver. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I think is, if this AI thing rolls out like the current hype cycle claims it will, if it is so disruptive that it takes out 80% of the jobs, if we create solutions to energy that mean we don't have to pay for it as much, what the fuck are people going to do with their time? Universal basic income.
Make kids.
Loads more babies.
Well, that's kind of what happens in the I don't know, Afghanistan, Middle East, where what do you have there? Like, you have mountains, you have goats, you have people, but what they do kids. They have their own culture. But I mean, if you don't have anything to do, that pretty much is what you will start doing. Like, you will start populating kids, and then you have opportunity also to become smarter. Maybe you start teaching them, but eventually it will be tribal.
Right.
Well, everyone knows everyone. Because in Afghanistan, it's like, here is a mountain, and on this side of the mountain there is a village. There is a village elder. He's the boss. Then you go on the other side of the mountain. There is a new kind of village with another boss. And then when you go 3 mountains away, they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They are just living in their small bubbles in
I've
between
never
mountains.
been 20 miles that way.
Yeah.
That's insane, isn't it?
That is insane. Like, coming from our world.
That's the insanity reality thing you were talking about.
Exactly. They are living a totally different Truman Show. And most of them, they're like, I like this Jim Jeffries joke where he's saying, like, in America, this is an Australian comedian who's quite a controversial dude, saying a lot of offensive stuff, but he's saying that like, the suicide in the Western society is really high, and then he's saying, but in Africa, they are they have all the diseases, they have AIDS, they have to walk 3 miles to get water, but they're happier than you. Even though they are living in a shit and whatever they're doing, but it's kind of like weird, right?
No, look, I think it's the reason why I bring that up is because if that is going to be a truth, what do you want your schools to look like? What do you want your kids to learn to prepare for? And Sonia Luyombarisky did a piece of research. Maybe it's out of date, maybe it's been changed, but she basically argued that she went around the world finding out measures of happiness. So she was like, I can plot what predicts it. So something like 30, I'm going to get this wrong, but 30-40% of it is DNA. It's the composite that you're given for your mental health. About 10% of it is your conditions and circumstances. Only about 10%. The rest of it is your mindset. So her argument was, you could be living in a slum in some impoverished place. If you're conditioned, if your circumstances only attribute 10%, the things that will predicate your level of happiness are what you've inherited and how you live your life. And I used to look at that and think how much we gave attention in schools to that little 10%. We're going to get them to the best university so they can get the best job. But I know from the research that the thing they should be trained in is mindset. It should be resilience, stoicism, philosophy, whatever it takes, mindfulness. These attributes that will govern the way that they take control. I think it's Steve Covey. In between stimulus and response, there is a space called choice, and that is power. And that to me is the single biggest predicator of success for young people. So that's what I would view the potential of, and again, all of that completely applies to adults, because we are actually forever, is it young, forever adolescing, you know. And so you know, it's the adventure that we're
and I would
on, right?
also like think in that sense, which I got right now, is that okay, if you have that kind of school, what is so often we get wrong is that if you look just the surface, we get one understanding of what the effect of my action is. But if you actually look deeper, in many cases when you think you have the right answer, in actually, or you think that you are doing this step and you're getting, I don't know, effect X, but in reality, you are getting a opposite effect of your action. And what I'm meaning by that is that, for example, if you want a kid to be decision maker, then if they are making decisions and you are critiquing and saying and putting an effort and focus on the result, that hey, this was a very shitty result, don't do it again, like, or don't kind of if you're putting a focus on the result, not the actual way how they got there, then you are kind of incentivizing that regardless of what you decision making, even if you made decisions which is asked from you and you got a bad result, you kind of are critiqued on the result. Now, what does that do? If I'm not reinforcing and telling that, hey, you know what was good about your actions is that you actually made a decision.
Yeah.
And that was awesome that you made a decision. Now, the result, I mean, even if you make right results or even make wrong results, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So, but if you get stuck on the result and start critiquing, hey, you got the score 3. Now it means that you suck.
Yeah.
But hey, actually, I saw how you learned. I saw how you prepared. At least you tried. You made a decision to come into the school and start doing this test, even though you didn't learn. It's a valuable feedback of reinforcing that at least you made a good decision of coming here. And that's where the debrief comes in, right? How do you reinforce the good behaviors which are actually driving people to become a decision maker? And if we are so results orientated, and we are providing input to kids or whoever we want to teach about the results, hey, you didn't bring the results, bring better results. And you're not reinforcing anything. You're just reinforcing that this is a bad result. But if you're able to figure out, and that's the debrief model, right? When you're reinforcing the right things, the right behaviors behind this result. Because if you do everything right, you can get the fucking wrong outcome.
Yeah.
And then when things go wrong, you internalize what? You start to figure out, okay, what did I wrong? Because that's what you want them to do. If they are thinking in terms of other groups of people, you want them to start thinking, okay, what can I do to improve the situation? What can I improve in myself? And the only way how you can create this kind of learning environment is really understanding how to kind of teach. But I think, and it's not so hard. You don't need the grades to create the right behaviors. This is just like, you don't need money as a result of your business to be happy and making right decisions, because you can do right decisions but lose money.
Yeah, I mean, this is the dynamic universe cannot be determined by like logical sequence thinking.
Yeah,
you know, and that's the great joy of it. Do you know? I'm going to tell you one more story, last story. But this is a really, when I heard it the first time, I think it's Jack Cornfield. I knew it applied to business too. Mm-hmm. So the story goes that it's a shit school, and the head of school, he is basically really struggling. He wants to quit. He goes to the convention of all the other heads of schools, and at the end, he gets a bottle of whiskey, he goes into the park, and he's like, fuck this, I can't do this shit anymore. And then the grand old wise person of schools comes and sit next to him, and he has a drink, and he's like, oh man, you know, it's just a disaster. And the wise old chief turns to him and he says, you know, I've heard something about your school. Did you know that God's in your community? So he finishes his drink and goes away, and then he wakes up with a hangover the next day, and he's like, sorry, what the fuck are you talking about? God's a member of our community. And his assistants all come into his office. How was the meeting? Are you doing all right? And he says, well, yeah, I'm okay. It's just this really weird thing that happened yesterday, which is this supreme being person said that one of the members of our community is God. And they're like, oh my God, he's lost his mind. But they start telling it to everybody else. They all know that this wise person is accurate, but they don't want to kind of admit it. But that story starts spreading around, and they say, I mean, is it that kid in that classroom who's always causing disruption? He's testing us in a way. Is it the cleaner? Is it me? Is it one of these other guys? And consequently, if this person has this absolute power, they all start treating each other differently. They start changing the composition of the organisation, and as the story unfolds, and again Cornfield tells it beautifully, you know, like the entire culture moves because the treatment of each other in behavioural terms is uniquely different. And I love that, because it's, well, not a big fan of gods, but we can have them. But the idea that somehow you would treat others with a uniquely different way because you feel that it is not just a benefit of you, but of benefit to everybody else. In Buddhism, they call it, there's an ideal called mudita. It's experiencing joy through other people's joy. It's like these are mindsets that you can train in, which I believe actually are conveyed through very practical exercises. And I know this is an unholy alliance, Remo, but it's not that far, again, from some of the approaches that you guys use. Here are skills and attributes that you would define the culture that you exist in. I don't imagine you would set a training up called How to Make Everybody Think Everybody Else is God. Yeah. But you understand the sentiment, right?
I understand. Two examples came to mind. One is that Jaco has this saying or quote that good, like true leadership starts when you start loving your team's success more than your own.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
That's it.
And that's where the true leadership starts.
But that's some next level thinking.
Oh, that's very deep.
Yeah.
And to get there, it's very hard. And the second thing, which proves your point, I think there was this test made in US. I think it was in the book Outliers, I guess, where they pretty much told teachers that, hey, these are stupid kids. Which actually were the smart ones. Yeah. And these are stupid. And actually these were the smart ones. And they did run this test, and the results were absolutely different.
Isn't that nuts, bro?
And as you said, like this 10% and then 65 is mindset, or whatever the 60. Yeah. It kind of, again, reinforces that the way how you treat, the way how you think will actually be transformed to the group of people as well. And as you treat smart people as they are stupid, then they will become stupid. If you treat intellectually not as great person as a smart person, when you're reinforcing things, because the teaching method will be different. Hey, you're actually smart. I guess the reason why you don't understand it because I didn't explain it correctly, because you're smart. So it means that I must be the one who is stupid here and not doing something right. Because if you were stupid, I tried to explain you. I mean, it's you don't understand me because you're stupid, right? You see that fucking trend there, which is ridiculous, and it's so subtle to understand and make that connection that, hey, if I treat you and my assumption is that you're stupid, it's much more easier to come up with the conclusion that it is not my fault. The only reason why you're not getting it because you're stupid. But if the other person is actually treated as a smart person, then it's, it must be me who's stupid. I have to reconsider and explain it to a different way.
It's not a tiny anecdote, but I had a job developing a school in Prague. I had to learn Czech. But I was so shit at Czech that when I turned up for my Czech lessons, I went into the wrong class. And my wife at the time was in the other class, the beginners class, and I went into the intermediate class. And I didn't realise for 3 months I was in the wrong class. So we were both at the same level. Now, obviously, I was better than her. But the thing that was really interesting was I had been exposed to about 500 more words of vocabulary than she had. Just by virtue of the fact I was in the higher level of class. So my Czech was automatically better than hers. And it always made me think, I mean, it's different reasons, etc. But because the expectation was different for me, I was able to succeed at a different level.
And I would say even that now I went to a Russian class before we went to Ukraine, and then we had to learn more Russian, even though we learned in school, didn't understand shit.
Really?
But just to have that, and we had this Russian teacher. He came from Russia, but he was in Estonia, so everything he teach was in Russian. Now, I was put in the advanced class, right? Because I had some knowledge of Russian. But still, I didn't understand anything. And we were like learning these really, really complicated Russian words, which were like military terms. That was kind of but in reality, I needed basics. Now, there, it was kind of the reverse. I fucked up my own brain because I thought in that moment that actually this is too hard for me. I can't understand it. And that was the message that I was selling to myself constantly, that I am stupid. I don't belong in this group because it's for the smarter ones. I actually belong in the weaker one. So finding the appropriate level of where you feel confident, and it's actually not really complicated, because if I go to, I don't know, NASA and a engineer starts to teach me engineering and I understand completely nothing, then I will feel stupid.
Yeah.
And I am stupid as well. But it's something which I will sell to myself, and I'm not going to tell it to anyone. So you get stuck into your own world of pretty much coming up with assumptions that you're stupid.
Yeah. And that inner narrative stuff, again, is a form of story, which, as the same logic applies, we're collecting, curating, synthesizing data to inform meaning. And when we do it to ourselves, it is probably the single biggest contributor to poor decision making practice and poor leadership that I know is lack of self-efficacy, needing co-signature. I don't know whether that's a cultural thing. Is it worse in Estonia?
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it. You're one of the probably most. I'd love to know the data on how many, unicorns have been set up here.
We are like, that's something what we are doing in many cases, is that per population, we have the biggest.
I mean, you're nailing
amount of unicorns
in
Europe.
Yeah,
or I don't know. We're kind of, I don't know, Silicon Valley of Europe. At least that's what they're saying. And I don't know if it's true, but it makes sense. We really do have a lot of them. We had this like tiger jump in, I don't know, in early 2000s. There was this incentive from I don't know who that we need to learn a lot of IT.
Yeah.
And at some point there's like, everyone is now learning IT. What do we do with them? That was like this kind of thing, because we had from the kids like these programs where you have to do computing and all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, everyone now will become IT people. And that was kind of but obviously as the world has evolved, obviously that strategy was a really good strategy, right?
Yeah, fucking right.
And as I said, that I think that the next tiger jump or tiger program should be on leadership.
Yeah.
Because if you're now able to actually do that leap of jump on leadership as well, then that will be the force multiplier of utilizing your knowledge on the wide world as well. Another, I think. No, go on.
No, you've nearly had all of my wisdom, dude.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But I think it's awesome that these kind of things emerge, but it all comes through deeper thinking. Like, you have to take time to even have that. And now, is it possible through AI to get the person and kind of get those nuggets out, and will then they feel as you kind of earn it? Because you like learning and understanding this leadership or whatever the topic is, you take like, you learn for 30 years and then you figure out the molecule is whatever the molecule is, and then you get the Nobel Prize, right? But if you get the answer like boom, then what is going to be providing, what will be the next thing that you can do for 30 years and not solve in 5 seconds?
Yeah, and you would imagine that we will start solving ever more complex and sophisticated problems, except human nature almost certainly won't allow us to do that because of our sort of tribal, like this, all the things that compel us towards action. Some of those on the shadow side of our psyches encourages aggression, revenge, all the things you're talking about. I've often wondered about this group of people who are owning the technology, this AI technology. What is their sort of ethical background? How much have they understood of their power to succeed? You and I have just talked about the fact that really poor leadership and really toxic working environments can generate huge amounts of wealth, power and income, and influence. And so there is a moral imperative in my mind you talk about the next tiger jump.
Yeah, that was how it was called in Estonia.
Right?
Yeah.
To be about leadership. I couldn't agree more. I think, like, if you're going to contribute, you and I talked about Rutger Bregman's moral ambition. Like, what do you want to give your time to? If the thing that you can help create is taking that on, is actually directing traffic to this higher order thinking, which requires you to do the fucking work. Mm-hmm. I guess for some reason it has to be compelling for people to do it. There's got to be a reason why they want that. I'll give a really good sort of anecdote on that would be working with colleagues who say, or in the past, I've had coaches talk to me about one of the things they'd like to grow into is become a thought leader. And I'm like, okay, mm-hmm. What do you mean? Well, I'd just be really good to be a thought leader, really help me with my career. And I'm like, I'm waiting for them to tell me what thought leadership they'd like. What is the thing that they now know about that allows them to be a thought leader? And then invariably, it doesn't really matter. I just want to be, like, at that point.
I want to be a leader.
I want to be a leader. I want to be.
Why? Because.
It's really good. Everybody's a leader.
Because they have the power.
No, right, dude. But, you're not, you haven't earned that right. Mm-hmm. And you
the more you want it, the less you get it.
Well, and then what? We diffuse it to a point where it doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. So everybody's a thought leader or an influencer or some fuckeries. Mm-hmm. Disposability to the point where you have saturated the learning environment. You've diffused meaning. It's disposable. It's auto-tuned. It's banal. It's right where we are, by the way. Mm-hmm. There's this sort of moment where culture collapses as a consequence, frankly, unless you commit to doing the hard work, finding difference. And I think that, unfortunately, unless we sort of put our flag in the ground and rally on that, because it seems like sour grapes sometimes. Like I tell you, another thing, in my view of that, is that for me, extreme wealth is a kind of sociopathy. It's sociopathic in my view, right? That's
the only way how you can get it.
Yeah, you've got to have done some
you
whatever.
You have to be, yeah.
But you might say, if you sit on the other side of that fence and you are someone with extreme wealth, you might be, well, the only reason why Toby fucking says that is because he hasn't got extreme wealth. Mm. It's the same logic that would say to you, the only reason why you don't like influencers or thought leaders is because you aren't one. Mm. So what is the thing then that you would attribute meaning and value to? Success metric do you apply? And it goes into all those other things we speak about. And I think I said at the beginning, when tell me about yourself, tell me about your life after you died. What was your legacy? What did you provide that contributed to it? And I think that for me is the school I would set up.
Mm-hmm. And I think like, what do you think of that? If I think it would be very beneficial for a human being to understand as fast as possible that if they want to be a thought leader, at least that's what they like Jim Carrey's and all the people who kind of got rich, right? They say that it's not about the money. That's what they're kind of saying, right? Yeah, and then it's kind of the same thing going on that, hey, obviously you can say it because you have it and blah, blah, blah. And then if people understood that you are the thought leader of your thoughts, regardless of do you want it or not.
That's...
Unless you let AI program it.
There's one of the new variants of, I think it might be Claude, that asks you to program the agentic program's soul. It says, what kind of soul would you like this to have? I was like, oh my God. Yeah. But again, Sonia Luyon-Boriski says something like, and it probably is 15 years out of date, she basically said, if your household generates, let's call it $180,000 a year, mm-hmm. any more than that doesn't have any effect on your well-being and health. It doesn't change the dial at all. If you're really struggling and your household income is, I'm really not saying that that you can survive with nothing. What I'm arguing for is that there's a cap. There's a legitimate cap. If I'm making 180 grand a year or 750 grand a year, it doesn't really have a huge material difference in my life quality. And I can speak to that a little bit. I worked in Switzerland for a while. We made good money. Mm-hmm. Everything just cost more. It was just fucking expensive.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. So then you have to think, right, so what are these other metrics? Now, if you run a business and you're trying to create profit because actually, in the end, you're responsible for other people's livelihoods, that might be a driver. But your contribution, your commitment probably has to be to a higher calling in whatever auspices you want to declare that, because it moves something. And I think people get around that. That's, again, that story. It's, I create order from chaos. You come on my hero's journey. I'll show you with my story what hope and potential looks like out of chaos. Mm-hmm. And if you can lead in that way under whatever organization or community or family you have, people rally around you. I fucking know it from working in businesses where the leader sits there, but they're not the fucking leader. Mm-hmm. It's that guy in the corner that everybody listens to.
Absolutely. It's the informal leader.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And out of interest, Remo, when you see that, you, from a consultant point of view, what do you do with that? Do you defer power? Do you challenge it? I don't know how you take that.
I would say that I would suggest, if that person is up, the right thing to do there is for the person who understands how to lead, they should now help the leader get better.
Yeah. Training their own leader.
Yes.
It's mental.
So you have to lead up the chain of command and help them with where they are lacking, because it's not about you being the leader. It's about the team. It's about the mission.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So you will actually become the person who should play the game in a way where you're helping the team, because and eventually if you understand, then obviously there are situations where you could say that, hey, here is the receipts. I think that I can relieve your position. You're really good at this. Maybe you're able to actually do that, and I will actually take over.
Yeah.
Because I think that it was in Netflix. The early founders was that the first CEO and the other one, I can't remember their names. They were the two guys who actually were striving all the time, and they were like going through those ideas all the time in the car. Eventually, 100th of the idea was Netflix. They had ridiculous, stupid ideas. And I think that his podcast where he talks about this, in the Diary of a CEO, and I think he has a book, or he has this idea that all of his ideas are stupid. He just doesn't know yet why. That's the kind of his premise, because they went through while driving to work in LA, and they went through 100 ideas. Every day he went to, hey, let's do a shampoo that doesn't do any bubbles. That were the kind of ideas that they were talking, right? And eventually they got to this Netflix idea. And at some point, he went to the Hastings, I guess was the other dude, and this guy, and he came to him and, hey, you're not the right fit for this company's leader anymore. I will take over. And this guy was the guy who initially was the CEO. He's obviously his ego got kicked in the stomach, but then obviously he slept on it, and he understood that the other person is right.
Yeah.
And actually he allowed him to become the second CEO of Netflix. It's just, whatever you do, you have to understand that your skills and capabilities are only able to take you from this point to some point. Mm. And from that point on, there most likely will be someone else who will be better suited for your position. So you as a leader should always anyways kind of have a mindset where you try to work yourself out from your position.
I think that's absolutely it.
And when there is an actual person that is more capable, what shows that he would be a right fit for becoming a CEO would be that initially he starts to help and grow that leader.
Yeah, it's a little metric, right?
Yeah, it's a metric, which is a subtle metric. Mm-hmm. Because if he starts to undermine and do all the stupid things and actually start undermining the leader, who's a bad leader, then he is not the right fit for that CEO role. Yeah. Because he has his ego and he thinks he's better. But if you're humble, then actually the best thing what you can do is try to support and actually help the leader to become better, and allow them to become better. And then as you're doing that, you're helping them eventually get enough influence when you can actually propose some of those things if you see that, hey, things don't work. And it's not good for the leader either.
Yeah.
But for that to happen, you have to have a really good relationship built.
Yeah, and you've...
But that's a big thing to do.
Okay, so where am I going to take these guys to learn that thinking? I mean, that's the school you have to set up. Is that what you... That's what you deliver?
That's basic leadership.
You say that, but I don't know whether... It's ubiquitously applied. I don't think people.
I think that it is not. It's not ubiquitously applied. I don't have the data how many people are even doing it. It's hard to say because there are people who are playing the game.
Yeah.
And you don't know how long does it take. It is happening, but again, this is like the Netflix example is the biggest example of that.
Yeah.
At least one of the biggest ones where it actually happened, and he's saying, "Hey, he was right." Mm-mm. But they had this relationship which they had built for 5 years, 10 years already, so they actually were listening to each other. So it's just a matter of how good is your relationship, and I would say that how do you learn it? You just have to start learning regardless of the best way how to learn anything is start on your own, understand where you are, and then you're able to, okay, it seems like this dude is speaking something which doesn't make sense. I have my checklist of how I make decisions. I have already mapped it out. And then I answer, okay, I seems to have on this point number 4, when listen to others, it seems like I'm not able to actually execute on that. It seems like you are really good at listening to others. I go and start learning from you. So the best and most efficient methods of getting good at something, they are free.
Yeah, I agree. What you say, I completely agree with.
But you can actually build up a school where those things could be taught.
But you also know that it's... You're talking about a group of people who are probably quite a small percentage of leaders who are willing to do that, right? And that to me is the dial shift. I see lots of people would agree with you, probably wouldn't act on it. Quite a lot of people would disagree and wouldn't quite understand what it is we're talking about. They'd listen to this and go, these fucking idiots, what are they on about? Right? And then... Which we are. Yeah, I'm happy for that. Weird is a word I take very, very... generously. It matters to me because it's Saxon for fate, actually. Mm-hmm. But I also think there are a number of people who listen to that kind of observation and think that's what they would like to do. That's how they think. Yes, I agree, gotcha. And then they get on Monday, having listened to this chat on Friday night when they're in the gym or whatever, driving home, and it's on out the window. And
Absolutely.
It's like, I can't reach that point because strategy time, thinking time isn't available to me. Mm-hmm. And that's the shift. At the beginning, that cognitive shift is what matters. It's what you and I do in calls. It's what I do with other people in calls. It's what you do with clients. It's you're not actually, in my view, that isn't telling them what to think. It's just letting them hear their own thinking, actually. And again, in this world, that's AI supported in ways it could never be done before. And
I would also then add there that there seems to be, at least it seems to me that there seems to be a gap in basic theory, which you can't get to through just asking questions, because the leap of information that is missing is too grave. It's just too big. Like, it's hard to... I mean, there is a way, and I think AI could actually help, because I just don't know how to in real time, and I don't just have enough practice to ask questions and lead them to understand what I think is already obvious. Because if I see something which is so obvious, it becomes like I'm dancing around the bush type of a thing, instead of saying, hey, I think what's missing here is that you don't understand what is your decision-making loop. Can you explain me how do you make decisions? And in that first sentence, or it's a question in a way, but again, it's also provoking question. And then if you put them to write it down, they understand that, okay, actually I don't have it. And then it comes down to, okay, what leadership decision-making loops there even are.
But dude, I have routinely come across asking that question, people saying we haven't really got a decision-making protocol in our organisation. We haven't really thought. I said, who owns this decision? I'll ask. Well, whoever's nearest it, basically. Consequently, have you determined what's the difference between a decision and a consultation meeting? Who's going to tell me what's going on? Organisations could live like that for decades.
Absolutely.
And function, but it's such
and seemingly, especially in Europe.
Yeah, right. Fuck. But what a waste of energy, and what an extraordinary waste of human potential. Frankly, particularly when you've got the quieter ones in the room whose decision-making ideas could be, all the stuff that is required. The same logic is, I mean, at its core, there's one belief I have, which is, quite often, there's no malicious intent for not knowing this stuff. People just don't want to admit to the fact that they haven't done the work or they don't understand it. You get young guys and young females who basically get promoted into positions of leadership without actually doing any leadership training, who sit in the top of a pile by virtue of the fact that they're the better ones. And I think for them, admitting, if I say, what do you do? If I gave you an hour a week for strategy, what would you do? Quite often, their answer is, I don't know what the fuck I'd do. I'd shit myself because, what am I supposed to be doing? And so what I realise is, so you firefight all week long, but if you had to plan something, you wouldn't know where to go with it. I'm not talking about company-wide strategies or offsites. I'm talking about your weekly intention. And so, at its core, there are consequences of not being literate to this stuff that just mean people's lived experience. Forget about business profitability, just the quality of your life. Because we spend more fucking time at work than we do with anybody else. And if that's not mandated, expressed, clear, I think the consequences are a lot of people... what was the quote that I heard it used? Most men lead lives of quiet desperation.
I think it's something from either I've heard it from Joe Rogan or some from there, and it's a sad quote.
But it's horrible, bro.
It's horrible, yeah.
And I feel like that. So, in my view, that's our kind of moral responsibility.
The interesting thought, what I again got from this only on this one paper, is some awesome ideas. Is that, do you know what is a Peters principle? Is that the one where the amount of work you do takes the amount of time? No, it's kind of like this, that you get promoted to the level of your incompetence, and that's where you stay. And it's for where it comes from. It's like because people who are really good, like you're a really good team leader. Let's promote you for the next level of leadership. Then you're doing really good at that. Then let's promote you to the next one. And now when you become incompetent, that's where you will stay.
Jesus Christ.
And there's a whole book about
brutal.
it. And then it's kind of coming up together with the generals, right? Because eventually you are promoted to the top, and you are not, because nobody who's firing generals.
Yeah.
And then you may end up with the people who is on top of it, but they are actually incompetent, but nobody's going to remove them either, because
that's just how it sits. And think about it.
It's pretty crazy.
That's utterly nuts. But like a teacher who's really good at teaching gets promoted to become head of department. So guess what? They're teaching less.
Yeah.
Surgeon, doctor. Think of all the institutions where that really crafted skill is promoted to a place where they do less of the thing that they've been promoted for. Because you are the leader of your troop, your entity, your department, it doesn't just naturally mean that you have those competencies to lead. That's a completely set of attributes, a completely different set of attributes. But I suppose what I think I take some comfort from is the idea that in the end, that's always been like that. It's the way of it,
Another thing with the same thing was that in the military specifically, when you are now incompetent in one position, what usually happens? You are promoted to some other higher position.
Right.
Let's get you away from our team. Let's put you in other...
Put him to pasture over there.
But you give them still power, more, because you're getting them to the higher ranking position. And that's one of the things. And it eventually says, like, the people... Like it would be very easy to say that, hey, these people were just stupid. but they're not stupid. They are actually the people who become so high. They are really competent people. They are smart, but it's the psychology. What kind of a human has is something what eventually like fucks it all up.
And the number one resource that I think that exists within any organisation often is the hidden potential of the people within it that you haven't actually bothered to do a forensic on what you've got.
Yeah,
there's going to be skills in there that you don't even know about.
Yeah,
and at that point of kind of that reality requires one to think. A Frederick Laloux.
It's harder.
Ah, mate, you're going to lose all your control.
Yeah, it's so hard.
And you're going to lose all your sort of everything that you've earned, territorially built over 20 years as a lead. Frederick Laloux's work on reinventing organisations, I think, is really good for that. Teal, and he references companies that have done the work, that are mission driven, that have actually got authentically that human leadership working and highly profitable entities. And that's the sweet spot. I think that's where you feel you're in your flow state, you're living fully actually, and that's kind of what I imagine is our collective responsibility is to find more examples of that in state infrastructure, private enterprise, wherever you want to name it, and ultimately that trickles all the way down to primary school and secondary school. Those are the competencies that need to be systemically thought by people who've given this a lot of time.
What should happen that it would actually become a reality? In England, or in Britain, for example, where there was this kind of thing, what you came from, you tried things, you eventually like, hey, all right, I will try do it differently. Now there's a lot of ideas. Is there any
So hope. Evidence? Yeah, no, I haven't got a fucking clue. Thanks. See you later.
You're welcome.
I don't know. I just like to mouth off about it.
Yeah.
I do have a view on it, and I think the view is about community and doing it with the village. I live
with the
in
village people, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, get your builder's outfit on, or whoever you'd like to be, bro. I live in a small town in Somerset called Frome, which is either kind of a mecca for people of a creative mind, or this horrible town where lots of woke people live. And it's about 2 hours outside of London. It has a population of about 30,000 people. In the late 70s, it had a bit of a dip in. Not many people lived there. It was a rough place. People thumped each other at night. Housing stock was cheap, but it was also fancy. A lot of merchants in the 17th century had built beautiful houses. So you could leave your flat in Chelsea or Hackney, sell it, 1 bedroom, and buy a 5-bedroom house in Frome. And gradually, this town built up a kind of artsy collective. You know these towns. They exist all over the world. Recently, they ousted the local political system. You had Liberals and Labour and Conservatives, and the town was just like, nothing gets done. Fuck this. We need an independence for Frome movement. So it's local people supporting local initiatives. They called it IF. They wiped the floor with the competitors and they took control of the town council. And the town has built up a set of strategies around healthcare, because they realise, for example, that actually one of the biggest attributes or reasons why old people were getting sick and dying was actually because they were lonely. So instead of putting a shitload of money in blood pressure medication, create clubs for lonely people, right? It's going to save us a shitload of money and people will be happier. So they have started to move the dial. And for me, there's lots of problems with the town, lots of things I don't like. Lots of things people probably don't like about me within that town, but I think that you've got a blueprint. Actually, the guy wrote a book called Flat Pack Democracy. It's about freedom, it's about democracy, it's about mission, and it's also about making sure young people get jobs that mean something, and that we live, willingly inconvenienced by each other. And it's messy, but that for me represents a solution. You need like-minded people working in these collaborative ways to restore something, and it is a choice to restore something about community and identity. And I tell you what, we talked about Rutger Bregman a minute ago, but there is a reason he claims in his research why people stood up to Nazis in Holland. I think we talked about it before as well, you and I, on a call. The number one reason why the resistance grew in Holland was not because of some great deep moral ambition. It wasn't because they were devout Christians who hated Nazism. The reason why the resistance movement grew was because people were fucking asked. Someone came and knocked on their door and said, these two people are going to die, put them in your attic, hide them. All right. And this bloke went round and knocked on people's doors. He wasn't like some zealot. He wasn't like a devout he was clearly an anti-Nazi, but that wasn't his thinking. It was just, this is a decent thing to do. I am going to ask you to do it. That's it. And when you're confronted by it, on the whole, people say, yeah, that's probably the decent thing to do.
You have to make a decision.
Yeah. Am I going to... Oh, come on then.
I love it because the first thing I think that what I wrote down is that if you're able to let go of your power position, good things will happen.
Yeah.
That's number one. And the second thing which kind of got me to that, hey, they just went and asked, is that copy machine experiment, which I think I have kind of talked about, which I talked about on every course, is that, I don't know, in Harvard or whatever the school was, there was a copy machine line. And the idea was that, okay, let's test what can we do, or how, percentage-wise, how... what's the word? Like, how likely it is that I will be let by you if I just asked.
Yeah.
Right. It's a copy machine line. So, and the percentage of just going there, hey, can you let me in front of you in this line? The answer is 60% of times when you just asked, you were let in front.
Yeah. Which
just shows that, hey, just asking gets you closer to 50%, 60%, whatever it is. Not asking, it's pretty zero. Yeah. It takes the other person to come and ask. So now if you think about leadership problems, your leader is doing XYZ wrong. Now, if you actually go there and say nothing, it's almost 0% that they will figure it out. They have to figure it out themselves, which takes more time. But even if you go and ask, then the likelihood of things has a probability of changing is significantly higher. Just going there and asking. Now, in the same experiment, if you also added because, hey, could you get me in? Would you be able to let me in front of you because I need to do a copy in a fucking copy machine line?
Yeah.
The percentage went up to 93%. Just because you said why, and it was very clear why. We were all in copy machine. But whatever reason, people want to understand why you want it. If you explain the why. So, hey, we need to hide these people because of XYZ. 93%.
Yeah.
And if you actually have a good reason, it only turned into 94.
Right.
That, hey, I have a lot of, I'm in a hurry, I have a classroom, and I have a bunch of things I have to do, can you let me forward? That is 94%. So it's just something in human's mind, which again is tied together with making a decision and acting.
Dude, I completely agree. And when you speak about that copy machine example, I know how many of these important conversations happen around those little sort of nodes of relationship. Mm-hmm. The water cooler. Everybody always goes on about the water cooler, and I think that if you're listening to this and your institution, your organisation, you feel needs to be transformed some way to align to the kinds of values that we speak about, the same rules applies. Is just ask. There will be a collaborative of people in your organisation who want that, who actually think, you know what, I seek difference. Every time I opened a new school or was invited to open, towards the end of it, I thought, there are 20,000 educational institutions in the United Kingdom, and we're going to open another one. Why? In every one of those buildings, I bet you there are 2 or 3 people who want to see something different. What happens when you connect them? You don't have one other school. You've got, do the maths, 60,000 people. That is so much more of a movement, so much more of a transformation than just opening another institution that may or may not succeed. So I would say that the collaborative, the little cooperative of people who look to do things differently, and fuck me, sorry to swear so much, but we need societal, economic, environmental, geopolitical transformation in the way we work things. Those problems are not going to be solved in isolation. Not going to, sort of nationalism or the things that go on in the world, they are exactly what I said before. It's someone owning the synthesis of data to provide meaning that you've lost agency for, right? So I'm going to say it's those guys, they're the problem, or it's that thing, or it's fossil fuel. Fucking makes me laugh so much. James Lovelace in the book, he says that fossil energy, right, coal and oil, is actually a solar energy because it comes from trees. It's just another framing of it. He doesn't give a shit whether you want to call solar power as solar energy, but we create these fault lines in our world. Oh, solar's bad, it's all got to be fossil fuels or whatever, or vice versa. It's just people taking the agenda and reframing it. And it's my view that it's high time that we, what gives you the right to do this? What gives me the right to do this? Nothing. It's a fucking moral imperative. Yeah. That's it. If you don't, you are, like I was in schools, complicit in systems that don't work. And if that's not a call to action, then you need to go and buy another bottle of gin, really, and just pretend it isn't happening.
Which is actually an action.
And a legitimate one sometimes.
Which is awesome that, maybe that's something which I haven't again considered, and I will throw it out, that blaming someone is better than being quiet. Because... it gives you 60%. Let's say that every time you speak out to someone and someone is listening to you, you are actually, it's a form of emotion. Opening another 20,000th of school, new one, it's an action. But now it's just if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, it's called insanity if you try to get a different result by doing the same thing over and over again, right? And but if by just asking or saying and blaming, it's actually better than not blaming. But the problem with that is if you blame for long enough, you are creating the people who are going to be quiet, which then is a result of nobody is going to do anything. So yes, blaming is better than being quiet, but by blaming, you're creating an environment when everyone will be quiet, which is the fucking worst.
Yeah, and again, in the science of story, your protagonist, your hero, needs the antagonist. We know that when we create stories of change and meaning, antagonist-protagonist goal, inferred or literally the case, is the number one way to move it. Saul Alinsky, in the kind of socialist Bible for social activism, right? He knew that. He was very clear. Barack Obama loved this text. He basically, rule number 3 is make your work more appealing than your enemies, right? So that people want to join your cooperative. They're having more fun. They're cool and young and sexy. I want to be in that gang, not with these
Frome.
And antagonist, protagonist goal. And so any kind of political movement that exists now knows that playbook. We're in such a populist time. And actually, in my view, one also should apply that to the way it triggers that deep evolutionary thing in us to galvanize and motivate us to do things differently. Same principles. I'm giving it here. These systems suck. We're just normal people. Our goal is this. It's the same story.
We're also doing the 60%. At least we are doing something. We are not being quiet. That would be the worst.
Right. Well, let's hope. But it becomes a sort of a kind of.
So at the moment, all the time, you live in Britain.
I travel a lot.
What's the difference between the places where you travel and comparing to your hometown and the things that are happening over there? What's the main difference you see when you travel around?
I see.
Do you see anything good outside anywhere?
Yeah, man. I see a lot of...
Which you should bring home. Okay.
Yeah, but I go to seek the craziest things. Every time I go somewhere, I'm like, take me to whatever person is thinking differently.
Thank you for saying that I'm crazy.
I came all the way down to see you. I want that because I don't need to be in an echo chamber where I've had one all my life. I want to be constantly buffeted and provoked by things I don't agree with and don't believe in, as much as people that I think, a guy I met on holiday quite recently, who's a very successful partner. She worked in high fashion in Paris, and she moved jobs every 6 months. And I said to him, "Gosh, your wife must know everybody in Paris fashion scene." And he said, "No. She only keeps company with about 6 people, just the right people. They check in with each other all the time. She's actually limited the exposure to the things that really tune for her." And I quite like that.
Focus.
Have a network of people who are not yes men, but who bring ideas and bring suggestions. It's the same with the schools, right? Know the other person in the other school who thinks like you does, so that you can connect. In your organisation, if someone wants to do, I don't know, restorative practice, don't fucking do it on your own. Call up the other ones. These are human attributes. So I look for that and I see that. Frome is cool. Come and visit. It's probably too cool now. It's probably got too big for its boots. But I think if you seek a environment, I think Subcomandante Marcos, who's a Zapatista general from the 1990s, bit of a crazy guy, said, I want to live in a world where other worlds are possible. Right? That there are arguments and problems with that belief. But on the whole, that's what I would view is important. And I would say about my work and in my life that I want to work with those people who are trying to create, who are world makers in the new iteration of the world and who need time to think. And not think for them. But where those people seek, this needs to be better, this needs to be different, then actually Frome is just a microcosm. It's everywhere if you look for it.
Which means that in the future, if there are no jobs, there will be a lot of time to think.
Yeah, and we better not just keep sitting around making babies.
Yeah.
Because that has its own set of problems.
But that makes you think a lot because you have so much... It most likely creates you a huge chaos when you have 10 babies.
10 babies.
But that teaches you leadership. Because how else will you manage them?
You can run your own football team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can always find, like, if you're like a class half full dude, then you're able to find everything. Like, even like I would say, I was just thinking of, okay, if someone is blaming, how can you reinforce right behavior there? Hey, at least you open up your mouth. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, what I haven't done a great job is explaining how bad is blaming others. That could be the other sentiment there. But the first thing is that you still reinforce it actually, that the way you acted in vacuum, the only thing what you did, at least there was good in there, that you actually acted. So you reinforce the thing. Yes, you hit your classmate. At least you made them take an action. Yes, it was a wrong one with the results of consequences. These are consequences. But I'm happy that they actually made the decision, which is better than not making a decision.
Mate, when you open that school, can you invite me to come and see?
Oh, it would be a chaos and a mayhem.
And that's where actually most growth happens, frankly.
Absolutely. So, what else? What else is there? What's bothering you? What else is bothering you?
What bothers me? I mean, many things. The state of the nation. I think what I bothered about is I don't see what I would consider to be statesmen. And I know I don't want to use statesman in that way because it's sort of non-gender specific, but I just don't see the caliber of leaders that I wish to take us through in the world. And I think that again has to come out of our work. I'm not suggesting that my model of that is great, but we're in a pickle, man. These echo chambers that sit in my country around extreme, and not even that extreme, but the consensus politics is on its knees. And we've created these echo chambers around issues that are potent and terrifying for a lot of people in the country that aren't actually a reflection of the bigger challenges we face. So Not to say that they aren't challenges, but I just get worried about the quality of ethics and kind of erudite nature of what I want from leadership. And I think if we continue to model success on the metrics that we have all grown up in, then we are fucked. Actually.
Which are the metrics?
Financial success, extreme wealth, Instagram somethings, whatever that thing is that you see, the amount of followers we have on a Netflix, an Instagram post or whatever.
I don't know where I put it, but I have this. I don't know if I sent it to you. Maybe I throw it away. But I think I have it in a pin because I wanted to translate it in Estonian. It was this the dude who I met on Startup Day who was trying to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you get the paper? The white paper? Did I send it to you?
No, you sent me the other one.
Yeah, I had it over here. There are people who are trying to do it.
Yeah.
Which was like a good thing for me when I kind of met him. And that a German dude, again, sorry that I don't... Alex was his name.
Nice.
But I don't know what his second name was at the moment. But yeah, he's also... He's kind of touching that that was the point, that yes... These are the metrics that we are built upon, and if you're successful, they are kind of, I don't know, neuroscientifically or brain-wise, they are hitting 2 of whatever in your brain out of 6. We have 6 of them, whatever those things are, and there are like 4 more, which are not kind of getting right hit, and the goal of there is just to be happy, right? And those 2 things provide you some meaning, some purpose, but again, relationships, family, and other stuff, which are also triggering whatever the endorphins or whatever the fuck are in your brain, is something which is missing, and it's not provided by the just driving in the kind of capitalism way. So he's proposing the capitalist of happiness, or that's his concept.
Yeah.
That should be like the new capital, which should be incentivized in some way or form. That if you say to a taxi driver, "Hey, thank you, you're awesome," you get some credit in terms of that, and you are going to be reinforced by that kind of logic.
God, a bit scary. I mean, I think they have social capital in certain places.
Yeah.
I mean, I took that, again, in the development of organisations, I wanted to understand where the metrics were for happiness. So we have one from the ONS in the UK, the Office of National Statistics, had a 4-point questionnaire to measure how people felt about their lives. It's mental health, it's also... the sort of mindsets. I travelled all the way out to Bhutan to see it because of gross national happiness. And one of the really fascinating indicators from them was how you use your time. A really good indicator was how you use your personal time. Do you feel like you have control over your personal time? I don't want to create loads of space and time for people so they can just sit around doom scrolling. That would just be a disaster. More time on your phone. But that idea of time use actually is also, for me, a really good metric about ourselves. I use this phrase a lot with my clients and also with myself. We're known to others by what we prioritise. If I can come speak to my partner, she'll tell you what I prioritise. It's probably not good,
Yeah.
But is it as important for me? And actually prioritising time use and giving time to family, and again, choosing to be inconvenienced by the people around us on purpose because it gives meaning to our lives. Those kind of metrics, I suspect, can sit directly alongside, what do you want to call it, Nordic capitalism, social capitalism. The idea that, we're going to live with this system of market trading and we're going to evoke higher levels of consciousness around our behaviours. That's what I'm concerned is getting eroded, and that's what I think is the worry that keeps me up, frankly.
Well, what would be indicators, like if you say the red flags are the ones who are showing you that things are going bad, what would be the, I don't know, green flags that you would like to see, that you would get the actual confirmation that things are moving in the right direction?
That's a really dope question, man. I think about impact, and if I go to an organisation, I think quite quickly I can get a sense of culture, and by the way you're welcome, by the way you come into the building, by the sort of the policies and the statements that you see on the architecture and the posters on the walls. I know it sounds peculiar. You walk into a company, Remo, I bet you make a judgment about it quite quickly, right?
I think best place is to go and walk into a meeting and listen to it.
Yeah, particularly a physical one.
Yeah. And
you very quickly tune it. And by the way, all of us who work in this sector would say that's possible, that they would have their own intuition. And what I look for, often more than anything else, is agency, is who's acting, who's not being given power to act, why not? What's the consequences of that decision? What does the shape and formation of your office spaces look like? Does it reflect the diversity of the people in it? Have I got people sat in a cupboard because it's too noisy? Or, how does that create an environment where really meaningful, purposeful work is done? And for me, those companies that are thinking differently about it include companies that have developed protocols around work from home, have said, actually, Fridays, we're a 4-day week company, they're still as successful as the 5-day week companies. What are you doing to get the very best out of people's potential?
At least you're trying
to
figure it out. It may not work, but at least you're trying and experimenting.
4 hours a day is what I was told is the best average of people's commitment. You work fully focused for 4 hours a day. If you could get your team to do that, and you gave them an hour in the morning to do their yoga or their gym, or you fucking gave them, I don't know, whatever drink they need to sort of rehydrate, and then you had 2 blocks of 2 hour time to work, in whichever way it fitted, you would get a more successful, more purposeful, more motivated group than the 40 hour, 60, 70 hour
And you know
week.
what will stop it?
Well, these old conditioned behaviours, for starters.
It's harder.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we don't like hard things. Because it's harder to manage. Like how do you lead people remotely? The same way.
Yeah.
You know what? Just harder. Because you have to utilize different resources. You can't get together, you don't see each other. But what you can do, you can develop a relationship, but it's harder. Because you are not in the same room. But it is doable, but it's harder. And now, hey, this remote thing doesn't work. Yeah, why? Because it's hard.
No, dude, and there's a little thought experiment that I don't always encourage people to do. But just for one day, I want you to conceive of the idea that you went to work and did fuck all. Actually did nothing. Just sat about on your ass.
See what happened?
No one will call you out for it. No one has a clue that your intention, your motivation, because they don't even see it.
Yeah.
And so if you're capable of doing that little, I mean, if you did it over a month, you might get some feedback. But generally speaking, there is an application that you can't see unless people are motivated to do it. So the risk is you have large cohorts of your workforce who've quite quit, who don't want to ruffle feathers, who know, just hold this a bit, because if I share that information, it's going to cause a problem, and frankly, my job's worth more than that than me. So they sort of hibernate into this compliance.
Absolutely.
And that's dangerous. So you don't have a choice, actually, if you want to be a successful organisation.
Yeah, and the why we don't have a choice with whatever it is, and I think that could also be something what eventually will happen, is that there is this, I guess it is the first law of nature.
Yeah.
If you don't adapt, then you die.
Righto.
And usually, if you had really hard time, if you had good times, and you had like 100 days of good times, and it was always very easy, it means that you did something wrong. That's like, because you didn't grow, at least. You were in comfort zone. Which means that every time when you end up in a comfort zone for too long, there will be ridiculously hard times coming.
Yeah.
And as the Europe or whatever the government has leaning in one direction, eventually, yes, we all will get extinct, for sure. But nature will pretty much, as it is, will eventually do its own work in humbling the people, in humbling everything, because you can't fight the laws of nature, I guess. And eventually you either die or the situation will adapt. And now it's just a matter of question, like where is the tipping point, and when it's too late and when there is not. And I guess as the human beings, we are so big and we don't even understand how big is a power of one person changing things. Then there is always kind of hope that something will go in the right direction. But I think even if there are hard times, after hard times, there always will be good times.
Yeah.
And there will be also time when there will be no times.
A kind of no self moment. I see a truth about reality resisting this, which is literally how we know that work is meaningful and real. When you are confronted by the resistance to it, when people say, hang on a minute, these changes, this transformation is going to upset things, then generally speaking, it's worth finding out why and it's worth pursuing. If you sit with it, not only are you complicit in it, but what you just said about it all ending, we know it all ends. Mm-hmm. You enter into all of these relationships, whether you want to admit it or not, willingly complicit in the fact that it will end. If you join a business as a CEO, it will end. If you join a marriage, it's going to end. Somebody, hopefully, much later on will die first. But it's going to happen, right?
Absolutely.
So if you know that, then the choice is to turn up for it. That's it.
Yeah.
And that consequence means... whilst I would say that the metrics of success are defined often by these extreme notions of financial wealth, I also admit that wealth looks to me like the potential of influencing the lives and support of other people. That also means being a CEO. That also means having a profitable business. That also means being a capitalist, right? Mm-hmm. It means entering into that. But the choice... It's why you and I would say that an organisation whose mission is to make a million in a year aren't going to be as successful as those who claim something like completely different. I say a million. It's in this day and age, it's definitely more. But you know that that you get people to gather around you when you are awake to the truth of your life. That sounds proper hippie, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One last thing.
Yes.
I thought I had this another last thought is that, and it's a ridiculous one.
I love that.
It could be that having more equality could be a solution which enables us to survive the longest. Because if we become all equal, or try to get equal, but the world is so unbalanced, right?
Yeah.
At the moment. So, and if the AI comes in and takes over all the work, right? It means that there will be, let's say that there will be a very, very difficult times.
Oh, yeah.
If there will be a very difficult time, it means what's going to grow out from hard times is very strong people. At least some of them who survive. If nobody survives, the world is so unequal that it can never affect everyone. It will not affect the people in the caves. It will not affect some people in Africa because it's just too big to be able to affect. They don't have phones. It will reach in that places. So the solution could be that it is the world, because as it is, if it remains not equal, there is always hope in innovation, because people who are in dire situations, then they will always figure out something. Because that seems that how nature works, how human beings work. So I think the actual good message to end here is try to make inequality a thing, because that will save the world.
That's a really good... We wanted a controversial ending.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So
nice, man.
Create more inequality, and we will live longer.
And see you next time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that was awesome.
Remo.
Yeah,
Bless.
Good.
Fun.
Kui see, mida sa vaatasid või kuulasid, oli kasulik sulle, siis kindlasti hakka meie jälgijaks, subscribe'i ja pane endale meeltuletus, sest et iga teisipäev kell 12.00 on meil siin lühike õpiamps tulemas, mida sa saad vaadata, ja igal laupäev kell 10 on siis selline pikk vestlus pikemas formaadis, kus me räägime juhtimisest, ärist, elust ja kõigest muust paremast, mis pähe tuleb. Nüüd kõige olulisem sõnum minul sinule tegelikult on see, et ma sooviks, et sa mõtleksid ise, et tavaliselt öeldakse, et vaata järgmist videot ja klikid siia või kuhu iganes kohta, siis mina ütlen, et enne kui sa kuhu üldse klikkima hakkad, siis mõtle, kas sul on päriselt seda asja vaja. Sest tõenäosus on see, et see, miks sa sinna järgmisele videole klikid, on juba vabandus. Ja mille koht see vabandus ehk siis sa tahad õppida juurde, aga tegelikult sa juba tead, sa oled ära õppinud kõik asjad ja sul oleks vaja lihtsalt tegutsema hakata, mitte siin üldse rohkem videosid vaadata. Ja kuna see algoritm on niivõrd võimas, ma ise olen lasknud selle ennast juhtida ja tõenäoliselt lasen ka tulevikus, sest see on lihtsalt niivõrd efektiivselt üles ehitatud. Aga mina ei taha lasta algoritmil oma elu juhtida ja ma loodan, et sina ka ei taha. Ja emotsioonid on lühiajaline mõtleja, et emotsiooni peale klikkida seda järgmist videot ei ole väga kasulik pikaajaline otsus. Ehk järg laske oma taktikalisel mõtlemisel üle võtta sellel emotsionaalsel mõtlemisel, vaid laske oma tugevusel tõusta välja ehk siis mõttevõimel ja tehke strateegilisi otsuseid. Et iga inimene on kindral ja sõdur samal ajal, et peab mõtlema ja tegutsema nagu sõdur siin taktikalisel levelil, aga strateegilise eesmärkide nimel. Ehk siis mis on need asjad, mida te päriselt tahate elus saavutada? Te tõenäoliselt ei saavuta neid siin internetis. Ehk järgi muutuge robotiteks. See oleks kõige hullem asi. Ärge laske seda vabadust endalt ära võtta. Seda on lihtne ära võtta. Sest et me võitleme väga efektiivsete vastaste vastu nii-öelda. Või vähemalt mina võitlen oma peas. Ja kui te aga ikkagi otsustate, et teil on vaja hädasti ikkagi õppida ja te tahate siin internetis aega veeta, siis mõningad viisid on selle jaoks veel olemas, ehk siis meil on olemas ka süsteemne võimalus õppida juhtimist või üldse seda, mida me räägime, kuidas vastutust võtta, kuidas tagasisidet anda, kuidas suhelda, kuidas suhteid ehitada. Kõik seda muud on võimalik õppida süsteemselt siis meie akadeemiast. Ja kui teil on küsimusi, siis kindlasti kirjutage. Kõik lingid, mida me kõike veel teeme, me teeme noortele asju, me teeme täiskasvanute asju, me teeme internetis asju, me teeme päris elus asju. Kõik need lingid on video all ja sealt leiate informatsiooni, keda huvitab. Ja minu viimane lõpusõnum on see, et internet ei ole elu. YouTube ei ole elu, Spotify ei ole elu, mitte kusagil mujal ei ole elu kui päris elus. Nii et minu soovitus on teile, et õppige siit, leidke võimalik kiiresti need vastused ja siis minge rakendama neid, sest et ainukene viis tagasi, et saada on päris elust. Ja siis, kui te tegutsete. Senikaua, kui te olete siin, siis te lihtsalt tarbite. Ja kui te tarbite, siis see on okei, kui see on teadlik otsus. Kui see ei ole teadlik otsus, siis nüüd tehke teadlik otsus ja liikuge välja päris lahinguväljale. Vaat, see ongi minu sõnum. Edu teile!